There are discoveries buried beneath our feet that leave even the world's most brilliant scientists utterly bewildered. Megalithic structures so precisely engineered that modern machinery struggles to replicate them. Technologies that appear thousands of years before they were supposedly invented. These are not legends or fairy tales, but documented archaeological findings that challenge everything we thought we knew about human history. Today, we journey into the darkest corners of archaeological discovery, where science meets the unexplainable and where every answer only spawns more disturbing questions. These are the findings that keep researchers awake at night, the evidence that challenges our most fundamental assumptions about human civilization. 1. Antikythera mechanism, Greece, ancient computer predicting eclipses. When Greek sponge divers pulled up what looked like a rotting piece of bronze from an ancient shipwreck in 1901, they had no idea they'd found something impossible. For decades, this corroded lump sat forgotten in a museum basement. Then scientists took a closer look and discovered gears, dials, and inscriptions that shouldn't exist. They had found the world's first computer, built 2,000 years ago. The Antikythera mechanism is a bronze device about the size of a shoebox. Contains at least 30 gear wheels that work together like clockwork. Ancient Greeks built this machine around 87 BC to predict when eclipses would happen and track the movements of the sun, moon, and planets. It could calculate astronomical events decades into the future. When researchers used X-ray machines to see inside the corroded bronze, they found something that made them question everything they knew about ancient technology. The device had gear trains more complex than anything built until medieval times. It used differential gearing, a concept engineers didn't rediscover until the 1400s. The mechanism's precision is what really disturbs scientists. Recent studies found that its calendar ring had 354 holes positioned with accuracy down to 0.028 millimeters. That's precision work that should require modern tools and measuring equipment. Yet somehow, ancient craftsmen achieved this level of accuracy using only hand tools. The device could predict something called retrograde motion, when planets appear to move backward across the sky. This required understanding complex astronomical calculations that most people today couldn't do without computers. Yet ancient Greeks built a machine that did these calculations mechanically. Dr. Michael Wright spent decades studying the mechanism. He says it represents a level of technological understanding that we didn't think existed in the ancient world. The device combined knowledge from Babylonian astronomy, Greek mathematics, and advanced engineering into one impossible machine. But here's the most unsettling part. New research suggests the mechanism might not have worked properly. Computer models show that tiny errors in the hand-cut gears would have caused the machine to jam after just 4 months. This creates a disturbing puzzle. How could ancient engineers design something so brilliant yet build it with flaws that made it useless? The Antikythera mechanism forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth. Our ancestors might have possessed knowledge and abilities far beyond what we've given them credit for. This bronze computer represents either lost technology we don't understand or evidence that ancient minds could conceive innovations centuries ahead of their time. 2. Baghdad Battery, Iraq. Clay jars that may have generated electricity. In 1938, an Austrian archaeologist named Wilhelm Koenig was examining artifacts in Baghdad's National Museum when he noticed something that made his blood run cold. Inside ancient clay jars, he found copper tubes and iron rods arranged exactly like modern batteries. These weren't recent additions, they were 2,000 years old. If Koenig was right, ancient people had discovered electricity long before Benjamin Franklin ever flew his famous kite. The Baghdad battery consists of 3 simple parts: a clay jar, a copper cylinder, and an iron rod. The copper tube sits inside the jar, sealed with tar-like material called bitumen. The iron rod goes inside the copper tube without touching it. This setup creates the exact same configuration used in modern batteries to generate electricity. When scientists fill replica jars with acidic liquid like vinegar or wine, both available to ancient people, something remarkable happens. The battery produces about 1 volt of electricity, enough to power small devices or create chemical reactions. Multiple experiments have proven these ancient batteries actually work. The most shocking theory is that ancient people used these batteries for electroplating, coating objects with thin layers of gold or silver. In 1978, a German scientist named Arne Eggebrecht reportedly used a Baghdad battery replica to electroplate gold onto a small statue. This would explain how ancient craftsmen achieved impossibly thin, uniform gold coatings on artifacts that seemed too precise for primitive techniques. Archaeologists have found similar battery-like objects at multiple sites across ancient Mesopotamia, suggesting this technology was widespread rather than a one-time discovery. Some contained scrolls wrapped in bronze, while others had metal rods driven into the ground like some kind of electrical system. But skeptics argue there's no solid proof these jars were actually used as batteries. They point out that no obviously electroplated objects have been found with clear connections to the battery sites. Maybe the jars stored documents or served religious purposes that had nothing to do with electricity. The medical theory is equally disturbing. Some researchers believe ancient people used weak electrical currents for pain relief, similar to how ancient Egyptians used electric fish for medical treatments. The voltage produced by Baghdad batteries would be perfect for primitive electrical therapy. Whether used for electroplating, medicine, or something else entirely, the Baghdad battery represents knowledge that challenges our understanding of ancient capabilities. These simple clay jars suggest our ancestors might have unlocked secrets of electricity 2 millennia before we thought it was possible. 3. Voynich manuscript, unknown origin, undecipherable medieval book. In 1912, rare book dealer Wilfred Voynich discovered a medieval manuscript that would drive scholars insane for over a century. Hidden in an Italian monastery, this 240-page book contains text in a language that no human being can read. The writing looks meaningful, it has patterns and structure like real language, but every attempt to decode it has failed. Computer programs, master cryptographers, and teams of linguists have all been defeated by this impossible book that seems to guard its secrets with supernatural determination. The Voynich manuscript is written in symbols that don't match any known alphabet, living or dead. Carbon dating places the book between 1404 and 1438, made from authentic medieval materials. The text flows like natural writing, with word patterns and letter frequencies that suggest real language, not random symbols or elaborate hoax. Yet, after more than 100 years of study, no one has translated a single word. The book's illustrations are equally mysterious. Page after page shows detailed drawings of plants that don't exist anywhere on Earth. These aren't stylized versions of real plants. They're completely unknown species drawn with scientific accuracy that suggests the artist was looking at actual specimens. Botanists have studied every drawing and can't identify a single plant. Other sections show astronomical diagrams with unfamiliar symbols, groups of naked women in strange pools connected by elaborate plumbing, and pharmaceutical recipes using the mystery plants. The astronomical charts follow no known system, showing celestial bodies and zodiac-like symbols that don't match any culture's star knowledge. Computer analysis reveals disturbing patterns in the text. The writing has statistical properties of natural language, proper word length distribution, grammatical structure, and vocabulary patterns. This rules out random scribbling or simple substitution codes. Whatever language this is, it follows rules and logic like human speech. But those rules don't match any language family on Earth. Recent artificial intelligence programs designed to crack ancient codes have failed completely when faced with the Voynich manuscript. Quantum computers and advanced pattern recognition software can't find meaning in the text. The manuscript seems to actively resist decryption, as if it were designed to remain forever unreadable. Some researchers believe the book describes lost medieval knowledge, perhaps alchemical secrets or medical treatments using extinct plants. Others think it might be an elaborate constructed language created by a medieval genius. The most disturbing theory suggests the manuscript records information from a completely unknown civilization or knowledge system that existed parallel to recorded history. The Voynich manuscript represents knowledge that shouldn't exist. A medieval book that contains information so alien it might as well have been written by extraterrestrials. Its very existence challenges our understanding of medieval capabilities and human communication itself. 4. Inca stone walls, Peru, perfectly fitted massive stones without mortar. High in the Andes Mountains of Peru, Massive stone walls mock everything we know about ancient engineering. These aren't ordinary walls. They're made from blocks weighing up to 100 tons, cut and fitted together so perfectly that you can't slide a knife blade between them. No mortar holds these stones together, yet they've stood solid for over 500 years through earthquakes that flatten modern buildings. The Inca built these impossible walls using bronze tools and human labor, achieving precision that challenges modern construction techniques. At Sacsayhuaman, fortress walls tower 20 feet high, built from limestone blocks so massive that moving them seems impossible even with modern equipment. Some stones have as many as 12 angles, each one perfectly matched to its neighbors. The precision is so exact that the walls have survived major earthquakes that destroyed Spanish colonial buildings built on top of Inca foundations. The engineering challenges are staggering. The Inca had no iron tools, no wheels, no pulleys, and no draft animals large enough to move these blocks. Yet somehow they quarried stones from mountainsides miles away, transported them across difficult terrain, shaped them to impossible tolerances, and lifted them into position using only bronze tools, wooden levers, and human strength. Spanish chroniclers who witnessed Inca construction described techniques that sound like magic. They wrote about stones that seemed to know their place and would settle into perfect position as if alive. Modern engineers struggle to understand how the Inca achieved such precision without accurate measuring tools or mechanical advantage. The mystery deepens when you realize that many walls use stones of different types of rock, each requiring different cutting techniques. Granite, limestone, and volcanic stone are fitted together seamlessly, suggesting the builders understood the properties of different materials and could work them to identical tolerances. Recent laser scanning has revealed that the stone surfaces aren't just flat. They're slightly curved and angled in complex three-dimensional patterns that create perfect joints despite the irregular shapes. This level of precision suggests mathematical and engineering knowledge that seems impossible for a civilization without written language or advanced mathematics. Archaeologists have found evidence of the tools used: bronze chisels, stone hammers, and wooden wedges. Yet experiments using replica tools show these implements couldn't achieve the precision found in Inca stonework. Something is missing from our understanding of their techniques, knowledge that died with the last Inca master builders. The earthquake resistance of Inca walls proves their engineering wasn't just about appearance. The interlocking stones flex and move during earthquakes while staying locked together, a technique that modern seismic engineering is only beginning to understand. These ancient builders solved problems that our technology is still struggling with, using methods that remain completely mysterious despite centuries of study. 5. Yonaguni Monument, Japan, underwater stepped pyramid structure. In 1987, dive instructor Kahachiro Aratake was exploring the waters off Yonaguni Island when he discovered something that shouldn't exist. Rising from the ocean floor like a lost city from Atlantis, he found massive stone structures with straight edges, right angles, and step pyramids that looked unmistakably man-made. The problem is that these formations have been underwater for at least 10,000 years, long before humans were supposed to have the ability to build such monuments. The Yonaguni Monument stretches 490 feet long and rises 80 feet from the seafloor. Its most striking feature is a stepped pyramid with perfectly flat terraces connected by straight staircases. The structure includes what appear to be roads, moats, altar-like platforms, and even carvings that resemble faces and animals. Everything about it screams human construction, yet it lies 100 feet beneath the ocean's surface. Marine geologist Professor Masaaki Kimura has spent decades studying the monument. He's identified tool marks, quarry sites, and evidence of human modification that convince him the structure is definitely artificial. The stone shows clear signs of being cut, shaped, and arranged according to a deliberate plan. Natural erosion simply cannot explain the monument's geometric precision and architectural features. The dating creates an impossible timeline. For the monument to be above sea level for construction, you have to go back to the last ice age when ocean levels were much lower. That means the structure would have been built at least 10,000 years ago, during a time when mainstream archaeology insists humans were hunter-gatherers incapable of monumental architecture. Critics argue the monument is just unusual rock formations created by natural geological processes. They point to the local sandstone's tendency to fracture along straight lines and suggest underwater currents carved the step-like features. But supporters counter that nature doesn't create the monument's complex layout of interconnected terraces, staircases, and chambers. Recent underwater archaeological surveys have revealed additional structures in the area, including what appear to be walls, roads, and even carved animal figures. If these are all natural formations, it represents the most elaborate geological coincidence in Earth's history. If they're artificial, they rewrite human history. The monument's implications are staggering. Either humans developed advanced architectural capabilities thousands of years earlier than we thought, or we're looking at the remains of a completely unknown civilization that existed before the end of the last ice age. Both possibilities challenge fundamental assumptions about human development. Diving the monument today is an eerie experience. The massive stone steps disappear into the ocean depths, creating the feeling of exploring a drowned city. Whether natural wonder or ancient artifact, the Yonaguni Monument forces us to question what we really know about human civilization and the true age of monumental architecture. 6. London Hammer, Texas. Hammer encased in 400-million-year-old rock. In 1936, Max and Emma Hahn were hiking near London, Texas, when they spotted a strange rock with a piece of wood sticking out of it. They took it home as a curiosity, never imagining they'd found something that would challenge the entire timeline of human existence. When their son cracked open the rock decades later, he revealed an iron hammer head with a wooden handle encased inside stone that geological dating placed at 400 million years old, long before humans, dinosaurs, or even complex life existed on Earth. The London Hammer appears to be a perfectly ordinary tool, with a 6-inch iron head and wooden handle that looks like something from the 1800s. But the rock surrounding it tells an impossible story. The stone formation, called Ordovician rock, formed during a period when the most complex life on Earth was primitive sea creatures. According to mainstream geology, this rock was already ancient when the first dinosaurs walked the Earth. Dr. C. N. Doherty examined the hammer in the 1980s and found that the iron head contained unusual metallurgy. The metal is 966% iron, 26% chlorine, and 0.74% sulfur, a composition that doesn't match modern steel production but is remarkably pure for ancient metalworking. No trace of carbon appears in the metal, which makes it technically impossible according to known iron production methods. The preservation is equally puzzling. The wooden handle shows no signs of decay despite supposedly being encased in rock for hundreds of millions of years. The wood has begun to petrify around the edges, but remains largely intact, a preservation state that doesn't match the extreme age suggested by the surrounding rock formation. Skeptics argue that the hammer is a 19th century tool that became encased in rapidly forming mineral deposits, not ancient rock. They suggest that mineral-rich water could have created a hard shell around the hammer in just decades, creating the appearance of ancient encasement without requiring impossible dates. But supporters point to several disturbing details. The rock shows no signs of recent formation. It has the hardness, composition, and layering of genuinely ancient stone. No known geological process can explain how a modern hammer could become so completely integrated into such old rock formations. The hammer has been displayed at the Creation Evidence Museum in Texas, where visitors can see the impossible artifact for themselves. Whether you believe it's evidence of time travel, ancient advanced civilizations, or unusual geological processes, the London Hammer forces uncomfortable questions about what we think we know about the past. If the geological dating is correct, the hammer represents technology existing hundreds of millions of years before humans evolved. If the dating is wrong, it suggests our understanding of rock formation and geological processes needs serious revision. Either way, this simple tool challenges fundamental assumptions about Earth's history and humanity's place in it. 7. Dropa stones, China. Stone discs with hieroglyphic-like markings. In 1938, Chinese archaeologist Qi Puti led an expedition into the remote Bayan Har Mountains and discovered something that shouldn't exist. Hidden in a cave system were 716 stone discs, each about 9 inches in diameter with a hole in the center like ancient records. But these weren't decorative objects. They were covered in tiny hieroglyphic-like markings that spiraled from the center to the edge. When researchers finally translated the symbols decades later, they told an impossible story of crashed spacecraft and extraterrestrial visitors to ancient China. The Dropa stones date back 12,000 years, making them older than any known writing system. Each disc is made from granite and contains traces of cobalt and other metals that make them remarkably hard and give them unusual electrical properties. The inscriptions are incredibly small. You need a magnifying glass to see individual symbols clearly. Professor Tsumum Nui claimed to have decoded the writings in 1962. According to his translation, the discs tell the story of the Dropa people, space travelers whose ship crashed in the mountains. The symbols allegedly describe how these extraterrestrial visitors were initially attacked by local tribes but eventually lived peacefully among them, unable to repair their damaged spacecraft. The caves where the discs were found also contained strange skeletons with unusually large skulls and small, fragile bodies that didn't match any known human populations. Local legends speak of the Dropas and Hans, two tribes of unusual people who came from the sky and lived in the mountains until disappearing mysteriously. In 1968, Russian scientists examined some of the discs and reported that they contained high levels of cobalt and vibrated in unusual patterns when electrical current was applied. They claimed the discs showed properties that suggested they were once part of electrical circuits, though these findings were never published in peer-reviewed journals. Skeptics argue that the Dropa stones are either hoaxes or misidentified objects with natural markings that only look like writing. They point out that no major museum displays the discs and that many of the original stones have disappeared, making scientific verification impossible. Some suggest the hieroglyphs are actually natural crystalline formations in the stone. But believers counter that the Chinese government has hidden the stones to prevent panic, and that the few discs examined by Western scientists showed clear evidence of artificial creation. They argue that the uniform size, central holes, and spiral markings couldn't occur naturally. The mystery deepens because the region still has populations of unusually small people with genetic markers that don't match typical East Asian patterns. Some researchers suggest these might be descendants of the original Dropa people described in the stone inscriptions. Whether the Dropa stones represent ancient extraterrestrial contact or an elaborate hoax, they've captured imaginations for decades. The possibility that 12,000-year-old stone discs might contain humanity's first record of contact with alien visitors remains one of archaeology's most controversial and unsettling mysteries. 8. Clovis people, North America, advanced hunters who vanished without trace. 13,000 years ago, the most skilled hunters in human history suddenly appeared across North America, then vanished as mysteriously as they came. The Clovis people created stone spear points so perfectly crafted that modern knappers struggle to replicate them, hunted massive mammoths and giant bison with deadly efficiency, and spread across an entire continent in just a few centuries. Then, around 12,800 years ago, they disappeared completely, leaving behind only their impossible stone tools and a mystery that haunts American archaeology. Clovis points are unlike any other stone tools ever made. These spear tips show a level of craftsmanship that represents the absolute pinnacle of stoneworking technology. Each point is fluted, grooved down the center, using a technique so difficult that modern experts fail more often than they succeed. The precision required to create these tools suggests knowledge of fracture mechanics that rivals modern materials science. Dr. Dennis Stanford has spent decades studying Clovis technology and calls it the finest stone tool tradition ever developed. The points required extraordinary skill to manufacture, with success rates so low that only master craftsmen could produce them. Yet somehow, this advanced technology appeared suddenly across North America without any evidence of gradual development. The Clovis people's hunting prowess was equally impressive. They successfully hunted mammoths, giant ground sloths, and other megafauna that weighed up to 12 tons. Their kill sites show evidence of sophisticated hunting strategies, butchering techniques, and tool use that allowed small groups of humans to bring down the largest animals on the continent. But here's what makes their disappearance so disturbing. The Clovis culture vanished at exactly the same time as North America's megafauna went extinct. Around 12,800 years ago, 35 genera of large mammals disappeared forever: mammoths, giant bison, saber-toothed cats, and dozens of other species. The Clovis people, who had specialized in hunting these animals, vanished with them. Recent DNA analysis has revealed that Clovis populations carry genetic markers that don't match later Native American groups. This suggests they may have represented a separate migration that left no descendants, making their disappearance even more complete and mysterious. Some researchers propose that a cosmic impact event caused the extinctions and cultural collapse. Evidence includes a thin layer of unusual materials, including microscopic diamonds and rare metals, found at Clovis Age sites across North America. This black mat layer suggests a catastrophic event that could have triggered rapid climate change and ecological collapse. The Younger Dryas period, a sudden return to Ice Age conditions that began exactly when the Clovis culture disappeared, provides additional evidence for environmental catastrophe. Temperatures dropped rapidly, ice sheets expanded, and plant communities changed dramatically. Changes that would have made the Clovis hunting lifestyle impossible. What makes the Clovis mystery so unsettling is the completeness of their disappearance. After dominating North American hunting for centuries, they left no trace in later cultures. Their advanced stoneworking techniques were never again achieved by subsequent peoples, suggesting that crucial knowledge died with the last Clovis craftsman, lost forever to history. 9. Out-of-place artifacts in coal. Various modern objects found in ancient coal. Coal miners have been finding impossible objects embedded in coal seams for over a century, and each discovery challenges everything we know about Earth's history. These aren't recent artifacts that somehow got mixed up with coal. They're items completely encased within coal formations that took millions of years to form. From delicate gold chains to metal pots to what appears to be a spark plug, these objects shouldn't exist, yet they continue to emerge from the depths, forcing uncomfortable questions about the age of human civilization. In 1944, Newton Anderson was feeding coal into his furnace in Sulphur Springs, Arkansas, when a lump broke apart and revealed a small iron pot embedded inside. The coal came from the Wilburton mine, where the coal formation was dated to 312 million years old. Anderson kept the pot for years, mystified by how a man-made object could end up inside coal that formed long before humans existed. The most famous case occurred in 1912 when electrician Frank Kennard was breaking up a lump of coal from Oklahoma and found a small iron pot inside. The coal came from a seam that geological dating placed at 325 million years old. Kennard signed an affidavit describing the discovery, and the pot was examined by multiple witnesses who confirmed it came from inside the coal, not from outside contamination. In Illinois, coal miners found what appeared to be a gold chain, 10 inches long, embedded in coal dated to 260 to 320 million years old. The chain was so delicate and perfectly preserved that it looked like modern jewelry, yet geological evidence suggested it had been buried for hundreds of millions of years. Perhaps the strangest discovery happened in 1961 when 3 rock hunters cracked open what they thought was a geode and found a mechanical object inside that looked like a modern spark plug. The Coso artifact had a central metal core, ceramic insulation, and what appeared to be a threaded metal casing, exactly like automotive spark plugs that weren't invented until the 1900s. Skeptics argue these artifacts result from contamination or misidentification. They suggest that coal sometimes forms around existing objects through rapid geological processes, or that mining operations accidentally mix modern debris with ancient coal. The spark plug, they claim, is probably a genuine 20th century part that became encrusted with minerals. But supporters point to the pristine preservation and complete encasement of these objects. The coal shows no signs of recent formation or artificial insertion. Chemical analysis reveals that the coal surrounding the artifacts has the same composition and age markers as the undisturbed coal in the same formations. The geological timeline creates an impossible puzzle. If these objects are genuinely ancient, they represent technology existing hundreds of millions of years before complex life evolved on Earth. If they're modern contamination, it suggests coal formation can happen much faster than science believes, or that our geological dating methods are fundamentally flawed. Some researchers propose that these artifacts represent evidence of previous advanced civilizations that existed on Earth long before current human history. Others suggest they might be evidence of time travel or dimensional displacement that occasionally deposits modern objects into ancient geological formations. Whether these coal artifacts represent lost civilizations, impossible geology, or elaborate contamination, they continue to challenge our understanding of Earth's history and humanity's place in the timeline of planetary development. 10. Piri Reis Map, Turkey, 1513 map showing Antarctica before its discovery. In 1929, scholars examining the Topkapi Palace in Istanbul discovered a fragment of an impossible map that would challenge everything historians thought they knew about ancient exploration. The Piri Reis map, drawn by Ottoman Admiral Piri Reis in 1513, shows the coastlines of South America and Africa with stunning accuracy. But the most disturbing feature is its detailed depiction of Antarctica's coast, drawn 300 years before the continent was officially discovered and showing the landmass as it exists beneath miles of ice that has covered it for thousands of years. Piri Reis compiled his map using over 20 ancient source maps, some dating back to the time of Alexander the Great. In notes written on the map itself, he explains that he used ancient maps drawn in the days of Alexander, Lord of the Two Horns, and charts captured from Christopher Columbus. But none of these known sources could account for the impossible accuracy of the Antarctic coastline. The map shows the northern coast of Antarctica in remarkable detail, including bays, islands, and coastal features that weren't mapped by modern explorers until the 1940s. Even more unsettling, the coastline matches the land surface beneath Antarctica's ice sheet, as revealed by modern seismic surveys and satellite imaging. This suggests the original mapmakers saw Antarctica when it was ice-free. Captain Arlington Mallory, a retired Navy captain and map expert, studied the Piri Reis map with the U.S. Hydrographic Office in the 1950s. His analysis concluded that the map was remarkably accurate and showed geographical knowledge that shouldn't have existed in 1513. The map's projection and coordinate system demonstrate sophisticated cartographic techniques. Charles Hapgood, a Harvard professor, spent years analyzing the map and concluded that it was based on even older sources that must have been created by an unknown civilization with advanced surveying capabilities. His research suggested that the original maps were made when Antarctica was ice-free, which geological evidence indicates happened sometime before 4000 BC. The accuracy extends beyond Antarctica. The map shows the Amazon River twice, once in its current location and again 200 miles north, where geological evidence suggests it once flowed before changing course. It depicts the Caribbean islands with precision that rivals modern satellite photography and includes details of South American geography that weren't known to European explorers in 1513. Skeptics argue that the Antarctic coastline on the map is just artistic speculation or represents some other landmass entirely. They point out that medieval mapmakers often filled in unknown areas with imaginary continents, and that the apparent accuracy might be coincidental rather than evidence of ancient knowledge. But believers counter that the map's precision goes far beyond lucky guessing. The coordinate systems, the mathematical accuracy of the coastal projections, and the detailed geographical features all suggest access to sophisticated source materials created by advanced ancient cartographers. Recent digital analysis of the map has revealed additional disturbing details, including what appear to be mountain ranges and river systems that match Antarctica's sub-ice geography with impossible precision. If the map truly depicts ice-free Antarctica, it represents geographical knowledge that predates known human civilization by thousands of years, suggesting that advanced exploration and mapping capabilities existed in the ancient world. 11. Nazca Lines, Peru. Massive geoglyphs visible only from the air. When archaeologist Toribio Mejia Zesp was hiking through Peru's Nazca Desert in 1927, he noticed some strange lines carved into the ground. He assumed they were ancient roads or irrigation channels and didn't think much about them. But when airplanes began flying over the region in the 1930s, pilots made a shocking discovery. Those simple lines were actually massive drawings of animals, plants, and geometric shapes that could only be properly seen from hundreds of feet in the air. Someone had created artwork for an audience that shouldn't have existed, flying observers in a time before human flight. The Nazca Lines cover 190 square miles of desert, with over 800 straight lines, 300 geometric shapes, and 70 animal and plant designs. Some of the straight lines stretch for 30 miles without deviation, while the animal figures include a 1,200-foot-long pelican, a 360-foot-long monkey, and a spider drawn with mathematical precision. The lines were created by removing dark surface stones to reveal lighter sand beneath, a technique that preserved them in the dry desert climate for over 1,500 years. What makes the lines impossible is their scale and precision. The hummingbird figure spans 305 feet, yet its proportions are perfect when viewed from above. The spider design includes anatomical details so accurate that biologists didn't discover them in real spiders until they had microscopes. How did ancient people create images with such precision when they couldn't see the overall design from ground level? Dr. Maria Reich spent her life studying the lines and called them the world's largest astronomy book. She discovered that many lines point to astronomical events, sunrise and sunset positions during solstices and equinoxes, and the appearance of important constellations. The ancient Nazca people seem to have created a massive calendar system visible only to sky observers. The engineering challenges are staggering. Creating perfectly straight lines across desert terrain requires advanced surveying techniques. The animal designs needed to be laid out from a master plan that maintained proper proportions across enormous distances. Yet the Nazca people had no writing system, no complex mathematics, and certainly no aircraft to view their work. Recent satellite analysis has revealed over 140 new geoglyphs, including human figures and complex geometric patterns. Some designs are so large that even from aircraft they're difficult to see completely. Others are so subtle that only modern imaging technology can detect them, suggesting the ancient artists created images for different viewing altitudes. The preservation is equally mysterious. Desert winds should have erased the lines centuries ago, yet they remain clearly visible after 1,500 years. The climate has stayed remarkably stable, with minimal rain or wind disturbance, creating perfect conditions for preservation that the ancient artists somehow anticipated. Theories about the line's purpose range from astronomical calendars to religious ceremonies to landing strips for ancient aircraft. Some researchers suggest the Nazca people developed primitive hot air balloons to view their work from above, though no physical evidence supports this theory. Whatever their purpose, the Nazca lines represent artistic and engineering achievements that challenge our understanding of ancient capabilities and suggest knowledge of flight centuries before humans achieved powered aviation. 12. Baigong pipes, China, ancient metal pipes in remote mountain. In 1996, a team of Chinese scientists ventured into the remote Qinghai province to investigate reports of strange structures on Mount Baigong. What they found defied explanation. A pyramid-shaped formation containing hundreds of metal pipes embedded in solid rock. These weren't recent installations. The pipes showed signs of extreme age and were integrated into rock formations in ways that suggested they'd been there for thousands of years. The discovery launched investigations that revealed metallurgical mysteries and engineering impossibilities that continue to baffle researchers. The Baigong pipes are found in 3 main locations around a dried-up saltwater lake. The largest concentration sits inside what appears to be an artificial cave in Mount Baigong itself. Hundreds of pipes, ranging from tiny tubes the size of toothpicks to large conduits over a foot in diameter, run through the rock walls and extend deep into the mountain. Additional pipes emerge from the ground around the nearby lake shore. Analysis of the pipes revealed a disturbing composition. They're made of iron, silicon dioxide, and calcium oxide, a combination that doesn't match any known natural or formation. The pipes show clear signs of artificial manufacture, with uniform wall thickness, consistent diameters, and engineering that suggests intentional design rather than natural mineral formation. What makes the pipes impossible is their integration with the surrounding rock. They're not inserted into pre-existing holes. They appear to have been in place when the rock formed around them. Geological dating suggests the rock formations are thousands of years old. Yet the pipes show sophisticated metallurgy that shouldn't have existed in ancient times. Chinese researchers initially speculated that the pipes might be part of an ancient smelting operation or primitive industrial facility. But the remote location, hundreds of miles from any known ancient settlements, makes this theory unlikely. The pipes appear to serve no obvious function and don't connect to any apparent system or structure. The pipe's condition adds to the mystery. Despite their apparent age, many show minimal corrosion or degradation. The metal composition includes elements that create natural rust resistance, suggesting knowledge of advanced metallurgy. Some pipes appear to be fused directly into the rock matrix, as if they were heated to extreme temperatures during installation. Recent investigations have found similar pipe formations at other locations in the region, suggesting a network of ancient installations rather than an isolated phenomenon. Ground-penetrating radar has detected additional pipe systems buried beneath the surface, indicating the visible pipes are only a small portion of a much larger structure. Skeptics argue the pipes are natural formations created by geological processes, perhaps fossilized plant roots or mineral formations that coincidentally resemble artificial pipes. But supporters point to the pipe's uniform construction, consistent metallurgy, and engineering precision that seems impossible for natural processes. The bygone pipes represent either evidence of advanced ancient technology in one of Earth's most remote regions, or natural formations so perfectly engineered that they mimic human construction. Either explanation challenges conventional understanding and suggests that the remote mountains of China hold secrets about ancient capabilities that we're only beginning to discover. 13. Roman dodecahedrons, Europe, 130 found across Europe, purpose completely unknown. Across the former Roman Empire, archaeologists have uncovered over 130 identical bronze objects that mock every attempt at identification. These dodecahedrons, 12-sided geometrical forms about the size of tennis balls, have been found from Britain to the Balkans, spanning 4 centuries of Roman history. Each one is perfectly crafted with mathematical precision, covered in circular holes of varying sizes. Yet their purpose remains completely unknown. No Roman text mentions them, no art depicts them, and no similar objects exist anywhere else in the ancient world. They represent a standardized technology important enough to mass-produce across an empire, yet have left no trace in historical records. Roman dodecahedrons display craftsmanship that challenges assumptions about ancient metalworking capabilities. Each is cast from bronze, with the 12 pentagonal faces maintaining perfect geometric relationships. The circular holes are positioned according to complex mathematical patterns, with no 2 dodecahedrons having identical hole arrangements, yet all following the same basic design principles. Dr. Martin de Bie, who studies dodecahedrons at the Gallo-Roman Museum in Belgium, expresses the frustration shared by archaeologists across Europe. These objects are found in Roman contexts spanning for centuries and thousands of kilometers, yet we cannot determine their function. They're too precisely made to be decorative, too uniform to be random craft objects, and too widespread to be local curiosities. The bronze alloy shows sophisticated metallurgy requiring precise temperature control and advanced understanding of metal properties. Recent analysis using 3D scanning and computer modeling has revealed that the hole patterns correspond to complex mathematical relationships, possibly encoding astronomical data or serving as measurement devices for unknown purposes. The mystery deepens when you consider their distribution. Dodecahedrons have been found in military camps, civilian settlements, and religious sites, suggesting they served a function important to various aspects of Roman society. Yet, unlike other Roman tools and instruments, no practical use has been identified despite decades of research. Some researchers propose they were surveying instruments, others suggest astronomical calculators, and still others believe they served religious or ritual purposes. Experiments have shown they could function as candle holders, measuring devices, or even weapons, but none of these theories explain their widespread distribution or mathematical precision. The holes' varying sizes have led to speculation that dodecahedrons were used for measuring or calculating something, perhaps serving as 3-dimensional calculation devices or engineering tools. But the mathematical relationships encoded in the hole patterns remain undeciphered, suggesting knowledge that has been completely lost to history. Recent discoveries of dodecahedrons in excavated Roman sites continue to provide no additional clues about their purpose. They appear in archaeological contexts alongside familiar Roman objects, coins, pottery, weapons, yet remain completely foreign in function and meaning. The Roman dodecahedrons represent one of archaeology's most persistent mysteries, objects that were clearly important enough to manufacture and distribute across an entire empire, yet whose purpose was so completely forgotten that no trace remains in historical records. They challenge our understanding of Roman technology and suggest that ancient peoples possessed knowledge and capabilities that we haven't fully comprehended, using standardized tools for purposes that remain forever hidden in the shadows of history. 14. Moving stones, Death Valley, 700-pound rocks that walk across desert. In Death Valley, California, massive boulders weighing up to 700 pounds have been observed moving across the desert floor by themselves, leaving perfectly straight trails behind them on the flat lake bed called the Racetrack Playa. For decades, these sailing stones baffled scientists who found no explanation for how enormous rocks could slide across a flat desert, sometimes traveling hundreds of yards and even making sharp turns. The mystery was finally solved in 2014, but the solution revealed natural forces so rare and specific that witnessing the phenomenon remains almost impossible. The moving stones of Death Valley were first documented by geologists in the 1940s, when they discovered mysterious trails carved into the desert surface. The rocks, some weighing several hundred pounds, appeared to move in straight lines, curves, and even sharp angles, leaving shallow furrows in the hard-packed earth that could stretch for hundreds of meters. With no obvious force capable of moving such massive objects, the phenomenon became one of America's strangest natural mysteries. Dr. Richard Norris led the research team that finally documented the stone's movement in 2014. Using GPS tracking devices attached to individual rocks and time-lapse photography, they discovered that the stones moved during extremely rare winter conditions when the playa floods with a few inches of water that freezes overnight into thin sheets of ice. The process requires a perfect combination of conditions that occur perhaps once every few years. The desert must receive enough rainfall to flood the normally dry lake bed with a shallow layer of water. Temperatures must drop below freezing during clear, calm nights to form thin ice sheets. Then morning sun must warm the ice just enough to break it into large floating panels while maintaining freezing temperatures. When light winds push these floating ice sheets, some extending for hundreds of yards, they act like massive sails that can nudge the rocks and slide them across the slippery mud beneath. The ice provides just enough force to overcome the rock's inertia and friction, allowing them to glide across the desert floor at speeds of up to several meters per minute. What makes this phenomenon so disturbing is its rarity and fragility. The exact conditions required for stone movement occur so infrequently that researchers waited years to observe it happening. Most trails visible today were created during rare events that locals never witnessed, creating the illusion that rocks moved by supernatural forces. Recent GPS monitoring has revealed that some stones move during episodes that don't match the ice sheet explanation. Some rocks have moved during periods with no recorded precipitation, freezing temperatures, or significant wind activity, suggesting additional mechanisms that remain unknown. The moving stones demonstrate how natural processes can create effects that seem impossible until understood. Yet even with the mystery officially solved, Death Valley's sailing stones continue to move in ways that challenge scientific explanation, reminding us that nature still holds secrets that can make even the most rational observers question what they're seeing with their own eyes. 15. Devil's Bible, Sweden, massive manuscript with giant Satan illustration. In a Swedish monastery during the early 13th century, a single monk created what became known as the Devil's Bible, the largest surviving medieval manuscript, weighing 165 pounds and measuring over 3 feet in height. According to legend, the monk was sentenced to death and promised to create the greatest book in the world in a single night to save his life. When the task proved impossible, he allegedly made a pact with the devil to complete the work, explaining the massive Satan illustration that earned the manuscript its sinister name. The reality is almost as disturbing. Someone actually did create this impossible book, requiring decades of continuous work that challenges every assumption about medieval capabilities. The Codex Gigas contains the complete Bible, historical chronicles, medical treatises, and magical formulas, but its most notorious feature is a full-page illustration of Satan that has terrified viewers for 800 years. The devil appears as a massive green creature with red claws, bulging eyes, and a forked tongue, drawn with artistic skill that surpasses most medieval artwork. The image faces a page depicting the heavenly city, creating a stark contrast between good and evil. The manuscript's production represents a feat of medieval scholarship that seems impossible for a single person. Dr. Jiří Vnausek, who has studied the Codex Gigas at the National Library of Sweden, describes the manuscript's impossibility. The uniformity of handwriting throughout this massive text suggests it was created by a single scribe, yet the volume of work represents approximately 20 years of continuous writing. The consistency of ink, letter formation, and artistic execution throughout the entire manuscript exceeds what typically appears in medieval scriptoriums where multiple scribes usually worked on large projects. Every page shows the same careful handwriting, suggesting one person maintained identical penmanship for decades of continuous work without variation or deterioration. Recent analysis using multispectral imaging has revealed that the manuscript was created using materials that were extraordinarily expensive and rare in medieval Europe. The vellum comes from over 150 animal skins. The inks contain precious minerals and exotic pigments, and the illuminations use gold leaf and ultramarine that would have cost more than many monasteries' annual budgets. The book's preservation adds to its mystery. Despite being 800 years old, the pages remain flexible. The inks show minimal fading, and the artwork retains vivid colors that look almost freshly painted. The quality of materials and preservation techniques used exceed typical medieval standards. The manuscript's contents blend religious texts with medical knowledge, historical records, and magical formulas in ways that suggest the scribe had access to libraries and sources far beyond what a single monastery could provide. Some sections contain information that wasn't available in medieval Europe, including medical knowledge that predates its supposed rediscovery by centuries. Whether created through diabolic assistance or extraordinary human dedication, the Devil's Bible represents medieval achievement that pushes the boundaries of what one person could accomplish in a lifetime. The manuscript stands as either evidence of supernatural intervention or proof that medieval capabilities far exceeded modern assumptions about ancient scholarship and book production. 16. Crystal Skulls, Mexico. Perfect crystal carvings that shouldn't exist with ancient tools. When British explorer Mitchell Hedges claimed his daughter Anna discovered a crystal skull beneath an altar at the ancient Maya site of Lebanton in 1927, he unleashed one of archaeology's most controversial mysteries. The skull, carved from a single piece of clear quartz crystal, displayed anatomical accuracy that rivaled modern medical models and surface finishes that seemed impossible to achieve with ancient stone-working tools. For decades, these crystal skulls captured imaginations and sparked fierce debates about ancient technological capabilities, lost civilizations, and the limits of pre-Columbian achievement. The Mitchell Hedges skull displays carving precision that challenges every assumption about ancient capabilities. Made from clear quartz crystal, one of the hardest natural materials with a Mohs rating of 7, the skull shows anatomical details that include accurate jaw articulation, detailed tooth sockets, and cranial sutures that match real human skulls. The surface finish is so smooth it appears to have been polished with modern equipment. What makes crystal skulls archaeologically impossible is the technology required for their creation. Quartz crystal is harder than steel and extremely difficult to work with hand tools. Creating the smooth surfaces, precise proportions, and intricate internal structures found in these skulls would require diamond-tipped tools and high-speed rotary equipment that weren't available to ancient civilizations. Dr. Jane McLaren Walsh, who has studied crystal skulls at the Smithsonian Institution, describes the technological impossibility. The precision of these carvings exceeds what should be possible with ancient stone-working techniques. We're seeing surface finishes that indicate rotary tools, cutting marks consistent with modern diamond abrasive technology, and internal structures that could only be created with advanced drilling equipment. Several crystal skulls have surfaced over the years, each claimed to be of ancient origin. Besides the Mitchell Hedges skull, famous examples include the Paris skull at the Musée de l'Homme and the British Museum skull. All show similar precision carving and surface finishes that seem to exceed ancient capabilities. Recent analysis using electron microscopy has revealed tool marks on several crystal skulls that match modern lapidary equipment rather than ancient stoneworking tools. The evidence suggests these artifacts were created using 19th or 20th century technology, yet their discovery contexts and the legends surrounding them continue to fuel speculation about impossible ancient capabilities. However, some researchers argue that ancient peoples might have developed advanced crystal-working techniques that have been lost to history. They point to other examples of precision stone carving in ancient cultures and suggest that crystal skulls represent the pinnacle of forgotten technological knowledge. The skull's optical properties add another layer of mystery. Clear quartz crystal can focus light, create optical illusions, and display unusual visual effects under certain lighting conditions. Some believe ancient peoples understood these properties and created the skulls as ritual objects that demonstrated supernatural powers through natural optical phenomena. Whether ancient artifacts or modern creations, crystal skulls represent the intersection of technological capability and human imagination. They challenge our understanding of what ancient peoples could achieve while forcing uncomfortable questions about the evidence we use to reconstruct the past. The skulls remain powerful symbols of the mysteries that surround ancient achievements and the possibility that our ancestors possessed knowledge and capabilities that we have yet to fully understand or recreate. 17. Acoustic anomalies worldwide. Ancient sites with impossible sound properties. Ancient builders around the world seem to have possessed sophisticated understanding of sound engineering that created architectural effects modern acoustics can barely explain. From stone chambers that transform human voices into otherworldly sounds to temples that amplify whispers into thunderous echoes, these acoustic anomalies suggest knowledge of sound physics that wasn't supposed to exist in prehistoric cultures. The precision of these effects indicates deliberate design rather than accidental properties, revealing that our ancestors understood principles of acoustics, frequency, and human consciousness that we're only beginning to rediscover. The stone chambers of Newgrange in Ireland, built over 5,000 years ago, display acoustic properties that seem designed to induce altered states of consciousness. The passage tomb's inner chamber amplifies sounds at specific frequencies while filtering out others, creating acoustic effects that enhance the resonance of human chanting and drumming. Research has shown that the chamber resonates at 110 Hz, a frequency that neurological studies indicate can trigger altered brain states. Dr. Paolo de Bertolis, whose research has documented acoustic anomalies at ancient sites across Europe, describes discoveries that challenge our understanding of prehistoric capabilities. These ancient builders understood sound engineering principles that we're only beginning to rediscover. They created architectural spaces that manipulate sound waves in precise ways, suggesting knowledge of acoustic physics that wasn't supposed to exist in prehistoric cultures. The Great Pyramid of Giza displays acoustic properties that shouldn't be possible given its construction materials and design. The King's Chamber resonates at exactly 110 Hz when sound is introduced, the same frequency associated with meditation and trance states. Recent analysis suggests this frequency was deliberately designed into the chamber's dimensions and construction, indicating sophisticated understanding of both acoustics and human consciousness. At Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, the massive stone pillars create acoustic effects that amplify sound across the entire complex. Research has revealed that the site's acoustics were carefully engineered to create standing wave patterns that would enhance ritual activities and group ceremonies. The acoustic design suggests understanding of sound physics that predates known development of such knowledge by thousands of years. Experiments using computer modeling and acoustic analysis have revealed that many ancient sites worldwide share similar acoustic properties. Stonehenge in England, the temples of Malta, and ceremonial sites in the Americas all show evidence of intentional acoustic design that creates specific sound effects during gatherings and rituals. The precision of these acoustic effects indicates mathematical knowledge and engineering capabilities that exceed what historical records suggest was available to ancient builders. Creating resonant chambers requires understanding of wave physics, frequency relationships, and the interaction between sound and architectural space. Some researchers believe ancient peoples used these acoustic effects to enhance religious and spiritual experiences, creating spaces where sound could trigger altered consciousness and transcendent states. The combination of specific frequencies, architectural resonance, and group activities might have been designed to facilitate collective spiritual experiences. Recent discoveries have revealed that acoustic anomalies often correspond with other unusual properties at ancient sites, including electromagnetic effects, unusual geological features, and alignments with astronomical events. This suggests that ancient builders understood connections between sound, consciousness, and natural forces that modern science is only beginning to explore. The acoustic anomalies at ancient sites represent knowledge that challenges our understanding of prehistoric capabilities and suggests that our ancestors possessed sophisticated understanding of physics, consciousness, and the relationship between sound and human experience that we're still working to comprehend. 18. Cursed archaeological sites, various locations where excavators meet mysterious fates. Some archaeological sites seem to actively resist investigation, becoming the focus of unexplained accidents, mysterious illnesses, and strange deaths that affect researchers and workers. While scientists don't believe in supernatural curses, the statistical pattern of misfortunes at certain excavation sites is unusual enough to make even skeptical archaeologists uncomfortable. From the famous Curse of the Pharaohs to modern digs plagued by equipment failures and inexplicable accidents, these cursed sites suggest that some ancient places may harbor genuine dangers, whether environmental, psychological, or something more mysterious. The tomb of Tutankhamun remains the most famous example of an archaeological curse. After the tomb's discovery in 1922, a series of mysterious deaths struck those involved in the excavation. Lord Carnarvon, who funded the expedition, died from an infected mosquito bite shortly after the tomb's opening. Arthur Mace, who helped break down the wall to the burial chamber, died shortly after from a mysterious illness. Several other team members and visitors died under unusual circumstances. Dr. Zahi Hawass, former Secretary General of Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities, has documented similar patterns at other Egyptian archaeological sites. While we don't believe in supernatural curses, the pattern of accidents, illnesses, and misfortunes that affect certain excavation teams is statistically unusual. Some sites seem to present higher rates of problems for researchers and workers than would be expected by chance. Recent investigations have revealed that some cursed sites contain environmental hazards that could explain unusual health problems. Ancient tombs may harbor dangerous bacteria, fungi, or chemical residues that affect those who enter sealed chambers. The curse may represent ancient knowledge of preservation techniques that use toxic substances to protect burial sites. Histoplasmosis, a lung infection caused by fungus that grows in bird and bat droppings, has been found in several Egyptian tombs. Exposure to these spores can cause flu-like symptoms, respiratory problems, and in severe cases, death. Ancient embalmers may have intentionally introduced toxic materials to deter tomb robbers, creating genuine chemical hazards disguised as spiritual protection. But environmental explanations don't account for all the strange occurrences reported at cursed sites. Equipment failures, unexpected accidents, and unusual phenomena continue to plague certain archaeological locations in ways that challenge rational explanation. Metal detectors malfunction repeatedly, computers crash without explanation, and machinery breaks down more frequently than statistical models predict. The psychological factor may also play a role. Knowledge of a site's cursed reputation can create anxiety and stress among workers, potentially leading to accidents and health problems that reinforce the curse's reputation. Fear becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy that creates real dangers through distraction and stress. Some researchers have proposed that cursed sites may be located in areas with unusual geological or electromagnetic properties that affect human health and behavior. Natural electromagnetic fields, subsonic vibrations, or other environmental factors could create feelings of unease, disorientation, and physical symptoms that contribute to accidents and illness. The pattern of cursed archaeological sites suggests that some ancient locations may have been deliberately designed or modified to resist investigation. Whether through environmental hazards, psychological effects, or unknown factors, these sites continue to challenge researchers and remind us that archaeology can be a dangerous profession, especially when dealing with places that ancient peoples may have intended to remain undisturbed forever. 19. Sumerian King List, Iraq. records of rulers who lived impossibly long lives. Deep in the ruins of ancient Mesopotamia, archaeologists discovered clay tablets containing records that challenge everything we understand about early human civilization. The Sumerian king list, inscribed over 4,000 years ago, documents the reigns of rulers before and after a great flood, with pre-flood kings listed as ruling for tens of thousands of years. The oldest recorded ruler, Alulum, supposedly reigned for 28,800 years, while others ruled for periods ranging from 18,000 to 43,200 years. These aren't mythological stories. They're presented as historical records with the same matter-of-fact tone used for later, historically verified kings. The king list was compiled by ancient scribes who had access to even older records, suggesting a tradition of historical documentation stretching back to the dawn of civilization. Multiple versions of the list have been found at different sites, with consistent information about pre-flood rulers despite being copied over centuries. This indicates the Sumerians treated these records as legitimate historical documents rather than religious mythology. What makes the king list disturbing is its structure and tone. After documenting impossibly long reigns for pre-flood rulers, the list transitions to post-flood kings with much shorter, more realistic lifespans. This suggests the scribes distinguished between two different eras of human history, an ancient time when rulers lived for millennia and a more recent period with normal human lifespans. The list's accuracy for historically verified rulers adds credibility to its claims about earlier periods. Archaeological evidence confirms the existence and approximate dates of many kings listed from the 3rd millennium BC onward. If the scribes were accurate about later rulers, why would they fabricate information about earlier ones? Dr. Thorkild Jacobsen, who translated the most complete version, noted the list's consistent treatment of all rulers regardless of their supposed lifespan. The text makes no distinction between mythical and historical kings. All are presented with the same format, suggesting the compilers viewed them as equally real historical figures. Some researchers propose that the extreme lifespans represent different ways of measuring time in ancient cultures, or that single names might represent dynasties rather than individuals. But these explanations don't fully account for the specific numbers and their mathematical relationships, which seem to follow deliberate patterns rather than random inflation. The flood referenced in the king list corresponds to similar flood narratives found in cultures worldwide, including the biblical account of Noah and flood stories from Greece, India, and the Americas. This global pattern suggests the king list might preserve memories of actual historical events that affected early human civilization. Recent archaeological evidence has revealed that several sites mentioned in the king list as pre-flood cities show signs of massive flooding in ancient times. This correlation between the king list's historical claims and physical evidence suggests the document might preserve accurate information about very ancient events. Whether the extreme lifespans represent actual longevity, different timekeeping systems, or symbolic historical information, the Sumerian king list forces uncomfortable questions about the depth of human historical memory and the possibility that our earliest civilizations preserved accurate records of events far older than previously believed. 20. Dendrolite, Egypt. Hieroglyphs resembling modern electrical devices. In the underground chambers of the Dendra Temple complex in Egypt, hieroglyphic reliefs depict scenes that have sparked decades of controversy among archaeologists and electrical engineers. The carvings show human figures operating what appear to be large bulbs or tubes connected to cables, with serpent-like filaments inside the bulb-shaped objects. To modern eyes, these 2,000-year-old reliefs look remarkably similar to electrical lighting systems, complete with power sources, connecting cables, and even what appears to be electrical insulators. While mainstream archaeology interprets them as religious symbols, the technical accuracy of the electrical analogy is unsettling enough to challenge conventional understanding of ancient Egyptian capabilities. The Dendra reliefs show a series of connected elements that mirror modern electrical systems with disturbing precision. Large bulb-shaped objects contain wavy lines that resemble electrical filaments, while human figures hold or manipulate these devices. Cable-like connections run between the bulbs and box-shaped objects that could represent power sources or transformers. Most remarkably, some figures appear to be standing on pillar-like objects that look exactly like modern electrical insulators. Engineer John Harris, who has studied the reliefs from a technical perspective, describes their electrical accuracy. These aren't vague symbols that could be interpreted as anything. They show specific technical details, proper electrical connections, insulation, and even what appears to be a power distribution system. If these are religious symbols, they're remarkably similar to real electrical equipment. The hieroglyphic inscriptions accompanying the reliefs mention illumination and light in contexts that some researchers interpret as references to artificial lighting rather than spiritual enlightenment. The Egyptian words used are typically associated with physical light sources rather than metaphysical concepts, suggesting the scribes might have been describing actual lighting technology. Recent analysis of the temple chambers has revealed scorch marks on ceilings and walls that could indicate the use of artificial lighting during construction or ceremonies. The burn patterns don't match torch or oil lamp residues, suggesting a different type of light source that generated more heat and different combustion byproducts. Archaeological investigation has uncovered unusual copper cables embedded in temple walls, along with ceramic objects that could have served as electrical insulators. Chemical analysis of these materials has revealed residues that suggest exposure to electrical current, though mainstream archaeologists interpret them as decorative elements or water pipes. The Baghdad battery discovery adds credibility to theories about ancient Egyptian electrical knowledge. If Mesopotamians could generate electricity 2,000 years ago, it's possible that Egyptians developed similar or more advanced technology for temple lighting and other applications. Some researchers propose that the dendrolights were used to illuminate the intricate hieroglyphic artwork found deep inside Egyptian temples and tombs. Working in complete darkness with only torches or oil lamps would have been extremely difficult and dangerous, yet the artwork shows no signs of soot damage that would result from conventional lighting. Experiments using replicas based on the dendro reliefs have successfully created working light bulbs using only materials available to ancient Egyptians. These devices can generate enough light to illuminate large spaces, proving that the technology was at least theoretically possible with ancient materials and techniques. Whether the dendro reliefs represent actual electrical technology or sophisticated religious symbolism that coincidentally resembles modern lighting systems, they demonstrate knowledge and artistic capabilities that challenge our understanding of ancient Egyptian achievement and technological awareness. 21. Cocknow Stone, Scotland, 5,000-year-old stone covered in spirals and cups. On a hillside near Glasgow, Scotland, lies one of the most mysterious and complex prehistoric artworks ever discovered. The Cocknow Stone, carved approximately 5,000 years ago, stretches 42 feet long and is covered with over 90 carved symbols including spirals, cups, and rings that create patterns of bewildering complexity. No one knows what these symbols mean or who created them, but their mathematical precision and astronomical alignments suggest sophisticated knowledge that challenges our understanding of Neolithic Scottish capabilities. The stone was deliberately buried in the 1960s to protect it from vandalism, hidden away like an ancient secret too dangerous to remain exposed. The Cocknow Stone contains the most complex collection of Neolithic rock art in Scotland. The symbols include perfect spirals that would require mathematical understanding to create, cup and ring marks arranged in precise patterns, and what appear to be maps or diagrams of unknown purpose. Some symbols are connected by lines that suggest relationships or pathways between different elements of the design. Dr. Kenneth Brophy from the University of Glasgow, who has studied the stone extensively, describes its impossibility. The complexity and precision of the Cocknow Stone's carvings exceed anything else from Neolithic Scotland. The mathematical accuracy of the spirals, the precise placement of symbols, and the overall design suggest knowledge and planning capabilities that we didn't think existed in prehistoric cultures. Recent 3D scanning has revealed that the symbols follow mathematical relationships that weren't discovered by formal mathematics until thousands of years later. The spirals incorporate golden ratio proportions, and the cup and ring marks are positioned according to geometric principles that suggest advanced understanding of spatial relationships and measurement. Some researchers believe the stone functions as an ancient map, possibly showing territorial boundaries, water sources, or sacred sites across prehistoric Scotland. The lines connecting different symbols could represent trade routes, migration paths, or astronomical alignments that were important to Neolithic communities. Astronomical analysis has revealed that several symbols align with sunset and sunrise positions during solstices and equinoxes, suggesting the stones served as a calendar or observatory. The orientations correspond to celestial events that would have been crucial for timing agricultural activities and religious ceremonies. The stone's burial in 1967 was controversial but necessary to prevent damage from modern vandalism. However, this means that most people have never seen the actual carvings, and much research relies on documentation made before burial. Recent efforts to uncover and restudy the stone have revealed additional symbols and details that weren't noticed in earlier surveys. What makes the Cocknow stone most disturbing is its uniqueness. While other cup and ring marked stones exist throughout Britain, none approach the complexity and precision of the Cocknow stone. It represents a pinnacle of Neolithic artistic and mathematical achievement that was never repeated, suggesting knowledge that was lost when its creators disappeared. The stone's location on a prominent hillside suggests it was meant to be seen and used by communities across a wide area. This implies it served a function important enough to justify the enormous labor investment required to create such detailed carvings in solid rock using only stone tools. The Cocknow stone forces uncomfortable questions about prehistoric Scottish civilization and the true extent of Neolithic knowledge. Its mathematical precision, astronomical alignments, and complex symbolism suggest that 5,000 years ago, people in Scotland possessed intellectual capabilities and knowledge systems that we've drastically underestimated, creating monuments that continue to guard their secrets beneath protective layers of earth and time. 22. Giants of Sardinia, Italy. Massive stone statues of unknown warriors. Scattered across the Mediterranean island of Sardinia stand some of the most enigmatic stone warriors ever carved. The giants of Monte Prima, discovered accidentally by farmers in 1974, represent an army of stone soldiers that predate the famous terracotta warriors of China by 500 years. These massive statues, some standing over 8 feet tall, depict warriors in detailed armor carrying shields and weapons, carved with artistic skill that rivals classical Greek sculpture. Yet they were created by the mysterious Nuragic civilization around 1000 BC, a culture that left no written records and whose achievements have been largely forgotten by history. The giants of Monte Prima were found in fragments, deliberately broken and buried in neat rows as if someone had tried to hide an entire army beneath the earth. Over 40 statues have been recovered, representing archers, warriors, and boxers carved from local sandstone with remarkable attention to detail. Each statue shows individual facial features, different armor designs, and unique weapons, suggesting they represented specific individuals rather than generic soldiers. Dr. Alessandro Usai, who has studied the giants extensively, describes their impossible sophistication. These statues display artistic techniques and naturalistic representation that we didn't think existed in prehistoric Sardinia. The level of detail, the understanding of human anatomy, and the sculptural skills required exceed anything else from this period in Mediterranean prehistory. The statue's deliberately broken state suggests they were victims of ancient iconoclasm, systematic destruction of religious or political symbols. Someone went to great effort to smash these monuments and bury the pieces, as if trying to erase all memory of what they represented. This organized destruction implies the statues held significant power or meaning that threatened later inhabitants. Carbon dating of organic material found with the statues confirms their age at around 1000 BC, making them among the earliest large-scale stone sculptures in the Western Mediterranean. This dating places them in the Late Bronze Age, a period when most European cultures were just developing metalworking skills, not creating monumental sculpture. The giants' artistic style doesn't match any known Mediterranean culture from this period. They show influences that seem to come from Egypt, Greece, and the Near East, yet they predate extensive contact between Sardinia and these civilizations. This suggests either that the Nuragic culture was more cosmopolitan than previously believed, or that they developed sophisticated artistic traditions independently. Recent analysis using ground-penetrating radar has revealed that the burial site may contain additional statues still hidden underground. The discovered giants represent only a portion of what appears to be a much larger complex, possibly including buildings, altars, and other monumental structures that remain buried. The purpose of the giants remains completely unknown. They could represent ancestors, gods, actual rulers, or symbolic protectors of the Nuragic people. Their warrior appearance suggests they may have been created during a period of conflict, possibly serving as intimidating guardians or memorials to fallen heroes. The Nuragic civilization that created the giants remains one of Europe's great archaeological mysteries. They built thousands of stone towers called nuraghi across Sardinia, developed sophisticated metallurgy and navigation skills, and apparently created monumental sculpture that rivals classical achievements. Yet they left no written records, and their culture disappeared without explanation. The giants of Mont-e-Prama force us to reconsider the sophistication of prehistoric European cultures and the possibility that significant achievements have been lost to history. These stone warriors represent artistic and cultural capabilities that challenge our understanding of Bronze Age Mediterranean civilization and remind us that ancient peoples accomplished far more than historical records preserve. 23. B.P. Corrodi Legend, Brazil. Indigenous accounts of ancient astronauts. Deep in the Amazon rainforest, the Kayapó people of Brazil preserve legends that seem to describe contact with beings from the sky in ways that sound disturbingly similar to modern UFO encounters. The story of B.P. Corrodi tells of a mysterious figure who arrived from the heavens wearing strange clothing that covered his entire body, carried weapons that could destroy anything they touched, and possessed knowledge of agriculture, astronomy, and technology that transformed the tribe. These oral traditions, passed down for generations, describe events with specific details that predate any European contact or modern science fiction, yet sound exactly like accounts of extraterrestrial visitation. According to Kayapó tradition, B.P. Corrodi arrived from the direction of the Pucatoti mountain, descending from the sky in a loud, fiery vessel that shook the ground and frightened the animals. He emerged wearing a garment that covered him from head to toe, described as resembling the spacesuits depicted in modern astronaut imagery. The outfit was said to make his movements stiff and mechanical, and when he removed it, he appeared as a pale-skinned man unlike any human the tribe had seen. The legend describes B.P. Corrodi as possessing a kop, a weapon that could destroy trees, rocks, and animals from a distance without touching them. This weapon produced light and sound that could level forests and kill game instantly. The description matches modern accounts of energy weapons or laser devices in ways that seem impossible for a pre-contact indigenous culture to imagine independently. B.P. Corrodi taught the Kayapó advanced agricultural techniques, showing them how to cultivate crops they had never seen before and improve their farming methods to support larger populations. He also shared astronomical knowledge, teaching them about the movements of stars and planets with accuracy that modern astronomers have confirmed as correct despite the tribe having no telescopes or written records. The most disturbing aspect of the legend is its specificity. Rather than vague mythological stories, the Kayapó preserve detailed accounts of technology, specific locations, and even the physical appearance of B.P. Corrodi's vessel and equipment. The descriptions include details about materials, sounds, and effects that wouldn't make sense to people without technological knowledge. Anthropologist João Américo Pereira, who lived with the Kayapó and recorded their oral traditions, noted the consistency and complexity of the B.P. Corrodi stories. These aren't simple myths or spiritual allegories. They're detailed historical accounts with specific technical information, geographic references, and chronological sequences that the tribe treats as factual history. The Kayapó create ceremonial costumes that they say represent B.P. Corrodi's appearance. These outfits remarkably resemble modern spacesuits, complete with helmet-like headdresses, full body coverage, and stiff, artificial-looking materials. The similarity to astronaut gear is so striking that it's difficult to explain as coincidence. Archaeological evidence in Kayapó territory has revealed unusually sophisticated agricultural terraces, irrigation systems, and settlements that seem to exceed the technological capabilities typically associated with Amazonian tribes. Some researchers suggest these improvements resulted from the advanced knowledge that B.P. Corrodi allegedly shared with the tribe. Similar stories of sky beings who brought knowledge and technology exist among other indigenous groups throughout South America, suggesting either a widespread cultural pattern or shared historical experiences that multiple tribes interpreted in similar ways. Whether the B.P. Corrodi legend represents ancient extraterrestrial contact, cultural memory of unknown historical visitors, or a remarkable coincidence, It demonstrates that indigenous oral traditions preserve information that challenges our understanding of pre-Columbian American history and the origins of technological knowledge among isolated human populations. 24. Underwater cities, Mediterranean, submerged civilizations predating sea level rise. Beneath the waves of the Mediterranean Sea lie the remains of cities, harbors, and settlements that were built when sea levels were much lower than today. These underwater archaeological sites represent civilizations that thrived during periods when coastlines extended far beyond their current boundaries, creating communities that were drowned by rising seas at the end of the last ice age. The submerged ruins force uncomfortable questions about the antiquity of human civilization and suggest that sophisticated coastal cultures existed thousands of years earlier than mainstream archaeology acknowledges. Off the coast of Alexandria, Egypt, marine archaeologists have discovered the remains of ancient Alexandria's royal quarter, including palaces, temples, and the famous Pharos Lighthouse, all now lying 20 feet beneath the Mediterranean. While these structures date to known historical periods, their submersion demonstrates how dramatically sea levels have changed and raises questions about older settlements that might lie even deeper underwater. Near the Greek island of Zakynthos, researchers have found what appears to be an ancient city with paved streets, courtyards, and building foundations lying 16 feet below the surface. The structures show signs of deliberate planning and construction that suggest a substantial settlement existed when this area was dry land, approximately 5,000 years ago. Dr. Nick Fleming, a marine archaeologist who has studied Mediterranean underwater sites for decades, describes the implications. We're finding evidence of human settlements that predate the establishment of known Mediterranean civilizations. These underwater ruins suggest that sophisticated coastal cultures existed during periods when sea levels were much lower, forcing us to reconsider the timeline of human development in this region. The most disturbing discoveries come from the deeper waters, where sonar mapping has revealed structures that could only have been built when sea levels were 400 feet lower than today. This dating pushes potential human construction back to the end of the last ice age, over 10,000 years ago, when mainstream archaeology insists that only hunter-gatherer cultures existed. Off the coast of Spain, underwater surveys have identified what appear to be megalithic structures resembling Stonehenge, lying 120 feet beneath the surface. The arrangement of large stones in circular patterns suggests deliberate construction rather than natural geological formation, yet the depth indicates they were built when this area was dry land thousands of years ago. Recent advances in underwater archaeology technology have revealed additional submerged sites throughout the Mediterranean. Multi-beam sonar, underwater robotics, and submersible vehicles equipped with high-resolution cameras are discovering structures that previous surveys missed, suggesting that many more underwater cities remain to be found. The preservation of these underwater sites is often remarkable. Cold, oxygen-poor water and burial in sediment create conditions that preserve organic materials and architectural details that would have been destroyed on land. Some underwater sites contain wooden structures, rope, and other perishable materials that provide unprecedented insights into ancient construction techniques. Carbon dating of organic materials from these sites consistently produces dates that are older than expected, suggesting that Mediterranean coastal civilizations developed earlier than previously believed. Some sites show evidence of sophisticated harbor engineering, breakwaters, and maritime infrastructure that indicates advanced understanding of coastal engineering. The pattern of underwater cities suggests that the Mediterranean basin was home to thriving coastal civilizations that were gradually submerged as sea levels rose following the last ice age. These lost communities may have possessed knowledge and capabilities that were forgotten when their cities disappeared beneath the waves. The discovery of underwater Mediterranean cities forces archaeologists to confront the possibility that significant chapters of human history lie hidden beneath the world's oceans, waiting to be discovered and studied. These submerged settlements represent civilizations that achieved sophistication thousands of years earlier than conventional timelines suggest, challenging our understanding of human development and the true antiquity of complex societies. 25. Ice Age Cave Paintings, Europe, 65,000-year-old art in Spanish caves. In 2018, researchers announced a discovery that shattered every assumption about the origins of human artistic expression. Cave paintings in Spain, dated to 65,000 years ago, predate the arrival of modern humans in Europe by at least 20,000 years. This means the artwork was created by Neanderthals, our closest extinct relatives who were supposedly incapable of symbolic thought and artistic expression. The paintings include hand stencils, geometric shapes, and animal figures that demonstrate cognitive abilities indistinguishable from modern human creativity, forcing a complete reevaluation of Neanderthal intelligence and the origins of human artistic consciousness. The cave paintings were found at 3 sites in Spain: Maltreviso, Ardales, and La Paisiega. Using advanced uranium-thorium dating techniques, researchers determined that red ochre pigments and calcite formations covering the paintings indicated minimum ages far exceeding any possible modern human presence in the region. The artwork predates the earliest known modern human artifacts in Europe by tens of thousands of years. Dr. Dirk Hoffman from the Max Planck Institute for Evolutionary Anthropology, who led the dating research, describes the revolutionary implications. These paintings fundamentally change our understanding of Neanderthal cognitive abilities. We're seeing evidence of symbolic thought, artistic planning, and creative expression that we believed was unique to modern humans. Neanderthals were creating art long before our species arrived in Europe. The paintings demonstrate sophisticated artistic techniques, including the use of multiple pigments, careful placement within cave chambers, and symbolic representation that suggests abstract thinking. Hand stencils were created by blowing pigment around hands placed against cave walls, a technique that requires planning, tool use, and understanding of artistic effects. Some of the geometric shapes are particularly intriguing, showing patterns that seem to follow mathematical principles and design rules that suggest intentional symbolic communication. These aren't random marks or accidental stains. They're deliberate artistic compositions that required planning and execution over extended periods. The discovery forces a complete reevaluation of what it means to be human. For decades, scientists believed that artistic expression, symbolic thought, and creative consciousness were traits that evolved uniquely in modern humans and distinguished us from all other species, including Neanderthals. These cave paintings prove that such abilities evolved much earlier and were shared by other human species. Recent analysis of the cave paintings has revealed additional details that were invisible to earlier surveys. Spectral imaging and advanced photography techniques have uncovered layers of artwork that show the caves were used for artistic expression over thousands of years, with multiple generations of Neanderthal artists adding to existing compositions. The implications extend beyond Neanderthals to questions about the origins of human consciousness itself. If Neanderthals possessed artistic abilities 65,000 years ago, when did these cognitive traits first evolve? Did the common ancestor of Neanderthals and modern humans already possess the capacity for symbolic thought and artistic expression? Archaeological evidence from Neanderthal sites across Europe is being re-examined in light of these discoveries. Objects previously interpreted as simple tools may actually be artistic or symbolic artifacts. Colored pigments, perforated shells, and modified bones found at Neanderthal sites are now being studied as possible evidence of artistic activity. The cave paintings challenge fundamental assumptions about human evolution and consciousness. They suggest that the capacity for artistic expression, symbolic thought, and creative consciousness evolved much earlier than previously believed and was shared by multiple human species rather than being unique to modern humans. These 65,000-year-old paintings represent some of humanity's earliest artistic expressions and prove that the drive to create, communicate through symbols, and leave permanent marks of our existence is a fundamental trait that extends far deeper into our evolutionary past than anyone imagined. 26. Ancient nuclear war theory, India, Mohenjo-Daro's mysterious destruction. In the ruins of Mohenjo-Daro, one of the greatest cities of the ancient Indus Valley civilization, archaeologists have uncovered evidence of destruction so complete and mysterious that some researchers propose it resulted from ancient nuclear warfare. The city shows signs of intense heat that vitrified bricks and pottery, scattered skeletons that suggest sudden death, and radioactive residue that exceeds normal background levels. While mainstream archaeology attributes the destruction to natural disasters or invasion, the physical evidence includes details that seem to match the aftermath of nuclear explosions in ways that are difficult to explain through conventional means. Mohenjo-daro was abandoned around 1900 BC after flourishing for over 700 years as one of the world's largest cities. At its peak, it housed over 35,000 people in a sophisticated urban environment with advanced sewage systems, standardized weights and measures, and architectural planning that rivaled modern cities. Then, suddenly, the entire civilization vanished, leaving behind ruins that tell a story of catastrophic destruction. The physical evidence at Mohenjo-daro includes several disturbing anomalies. Archaeologists have found areas where bricks and pottery appear to have been vitrified, melted and fused together by intense heat exceeding 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. This level of heat is difficult to achieve through conventional fires or natural disasters, leading some researchers to speculate about more exotic causes. Dr. David Davenport, a British researcher who studied the site extensively, claimed to have found evidence of an ancient nuclear explosion. His analysis suggested that the city's destruction pattern radiated outward from a central point, similar to the damage patterns observed at Hiroshima and Nagasaki. He also reported finding skeletons with radiation levels significantly higher than normal background readings. Ancient Sanskrit texts add another layer to the mystery. The Mahabharata and other Indian epics describe weapons called Brahmastra that could destroy entire armies with brilliant flashes of light, intense heat, and lingering death that affected survivors for years afterward. These descriptions sound remarkably similar to nuclear weapons, complete with radioactive fallout effects. The texts describe weapons that produced brilliant blazes like the radiance of flaming fire and a gigantic sphere of fire like 10,000 suns that reduced everything to ashes. Survivors are described as losing their hair and nails, suffering from burns, and dying slowly from mysterious illnesses, symptoms that match radiation poisoning. Skeptics argue that the vitrification at Mohenjo-daro results from natural causes such as lightning strikes, volcanic activity, or intensive fires during the city's destruction. They point out that radioactive readings could result from natural uranium deposits in the region rather than artificial nuclear explosions. However, supporters of the nuclear theory note that the destruction pattern and physical evidence don't match typical explanations. Natural disasters usually leave recognizable traces, and conventional warfare in 1900 BC couldn't have generated the temperatures needed to vitrify clay and stone on such a large scale. Recent analysis using modern equipment has confirmed elevated radiation levels at several locations within the ruins, though the source and age of this radiation remain disputed. Some readings exceed background levels by factors that suggest artificial rather than natural origins. The mystery extends beyond Mohenjo-daro to other Indus Valley sites that show similar evidence of sudden abandonment and destruction. Harappa, Dhalavira, and other major cities were all abandoned around the same time, suggesting a civilization-wide catastrophe rather than localized disasters. Whether Mohenjo-daro was destroyed by ancient nuclear weapons, natural catastrophes, or conventional warfare, the physical evidence points to a level of destruction that was unprecedented in the ancient world. The city's fate remains one of archaeology's most controversial mysteries, challenging our understanding of ancient technological capabilities and the true extent of prehistoric warfare. The ancient nuclear war theory forces uncomfortable questions about the cyclical nature of human technological development and the possibility that advanced civilizations have risen and fallen multiple times throughout history, leaving only fragmentary evidence of their achievements and ultimate destruction. 27. Elongated skulls, Peru. Human remains with impossible cranial modifications. In the burial grounds of ancient Peru, archaeologists have uncovered hundreds of skulls that challenge everything we understand about human anatomy and ancient cultural practices. These elongated skulls, found primarily around Paracas and other coastal sites, show cranial modifications so extreme that they seem to represent a different species of human altogether. Some skulls are 60% larger than normal human heads, with bone thickness and internal structures that differ significantly from typical human anatomy. While mainstream archaeology attributes them to artificial cranial deformation, the physical characteristics include features that such practices cannot explain. The Paracas skulls date from 800 BC to 100 AD and represent a cultural practice that lasted for centuries among coastal Peruvian peoples. Over 300 elongated skulls have been recovered from burial sites, showing consistent cranial modifications that suggest this was not an isolated practice but a widespread cultural norm among these ancient populations. Dr. Brian Forster, who has studied the skulls extensively, describes anatomical features that seem impossible to achieve through artificial deformation. These skulls have 25% more cranial volume than normal human skulls and are 60% heavier. They have only one parietal plate instead of two, and the occipital bone is positioned differently than in normal human anatomy. These aren't just stretched human skulls. They show fundamental structural differences. Traditional cranial deformation involves binding infants' heads with boards or cloth to create elongated shapes as the skull grows. While this practice can dramatically alter skull shape, it typically results in deformation that clearly shows the artificial nature of the modification. The Paracas skulls show elongation that appears natural, with none of the typical signs of artificial pressure or binding. DNA analysis of the skulls has produced controversial results. Some studies claim to have found genetic markers that don't match any known human populations, suggesting possible unknown ancestry or even non-human origins. However, these results remain disputed, and mainstream researchers argue that DNA degradation over time could explain the unusual genetic signatures. The skull's size presents another mystery. The brain capacity of elongated skulls would have been significantly larger than normal humans, raising questions about the cognitive abilities of these ancient peoples. Larger brains don't necessarily mean higher intelligence, but the dramatic size difference suggests neurological characteristics that would have differed substantially from typical humans. Some skulls show evidence of trepanation, deliberate surgical holes drilled into the skull, that was performed while the individuals were alive. The precision of these procedures and the evidence of healing suggests advanced medical knowledge and surgical skills that seem remarkable for ancient Peruvian cultures. Recent examination using advanced imaging techniques has revealed additional anatomical anomalies in the elongated skulls. CT scans show internal structures, bone density, and cranial features that differ from both normal human skulls and typical results of artificial cranial deformation. The cultural context adds to the mystery. Elongated skulls are often found in elaborate burials with high-quality textiles, gold ornaments, and other grave goods that suggest these individuals held special status in their societies. This could indicate that skull elongation marked elite classes or religious leaders. Similar elongated skulls have been found at archaeological sites worldwide, including Egypt, Malta, and Easter Island, suggesting either a global cultural practice or possible genetic connections between geographically separated populations. The consistency of the elongation patterns across different continents is difficult to explain through independent cultural development. Whether the elongated skulls represent advanced cranial modification techniques, unknown human populations, or something more mysterious, they demonstrate that ancient Peruvian cultures achieved anatomical alterations that challenge our understanding of both human anatomy and ancient medical capabilities. The skulls remain one of archaeology's most controversial discoveries, forcing questions about human diversity and the true extent of ancient knowledge. 28. Ancient airplane models, Colombia, gold artifacts resembling aircraft. Deep in the jungles of Colombia, ancient craftsmen created small gold figurines that look exactly like modern aircraft. These pre-Columbian artifacts, dating from 500 to 800 AD, feature swept-back wings, vertical stabilizers, and aerodynamic designs that perfectly match the principles of powered flight. The Quimbaya civilization that created them had no knowledge of aviation, yet their gold insects or birds display technical features that weren't understood by humans until the 20th century. When aeronautical engineers examine these figurines, they see not stylized animals but functional aircraft designs that could actually fly if scaled up to full size. The Quimbaya gold artifacts were discovered in burial tombs throughout Colombia and have been displayed in museums for decades as examples of ancient animal art. Most archaeologists classify them as stylized representations of bats, birds, or insects, noting their obvious zoological features. However, aviation experts who have studied the figurines identify characteristics that have nothing to do with known animals and everything to do with aircraft design. The figurines display several features that are unique to powered aircraft. triangular wings positioned perpendicular to the fuselage, vertical tail fins for stability, and streamlined body shapes designed to minimize drag. No known birds, bats, or insects have these exact proportions and configurations, yet they're essential for controlled flight in heavier-than-air vehicles. Aeronautical engineer Peter Belting, who has analyzed the gold figurines, describes their impossible aviation accuracy. These objects show clear understanding of aerodynamic principles that weren't discovered until the development of modern aircraft. The wing placement, tail configuration, and body design follow rules of flight that ancient peoples couldn't have known without understanding powered aviation. Wind tunnel tests conducted on scale models of the figurines have demonstrated that they possess excellent flight characteristics. The designs show positive stability, proper weight distribution, and aerodynamic efficiency that would allow them to fly as actual aircraft. These aren't random animal shapes that coincidentally resemble planes. They're functional aviation designs. The figurines include details that serve no purpose for artistic representation but are crucial for aircraft function. Small protrusions that could represent landing gear, cockpit-like indentations where a pilot would sit, and even what appear to be jet engine intakes show technical accuracy that seems impossible for artisans with no aviation knowledge. Some researchers have built radio-controlled aircraft based on the figurine designs, proving that the ancient models could function as actual flying machines. These test flights have demonstrated remarkable stability and flight performance, suggesting that whoever created the original designs understood the principles of controlled flight. The cultural context makes the figurines even more mysterious. The Quimbaya people were skilled metalworkers who created sophisticated gold artifacts, but they showed no other evidence of interest in flight or aviation. Their other artwork depicts typical animals, plants, and human figures without the aerodynamic precision found in these specific pieces. The figurines' discovery in burial contexts suggests they held special significance for the Quimbaya people. They're often found with other valuable grave goods, indicating they represented important spiritual or cultural concepts rather than simple decorative objects. Recent analysis using 3D scanning and computer modeling has revealed additional technical details in the figurines that strengthen their resemblance to aircraft. Digital enhancement has uncovered surface features and proportional relationships that weren't visible to earlier researchers but confirm the aviation interpretation. Whether the Quimbaya gold figurines represent ancient knowledge of flight, artistic imagination that coincidentally matched aviation principles, or something more mysterious, they demonstrate capabilities that challenge our understanding of pre-Columbian achievement. These golden aircraft continue to mock conventional archaeology while suggesting that ancient American civilizations may have possessed knowledge that we're only beginning to rediscover. 29. Hierakonpolis Painted Tomb, Egypt, 5,500-year-old detailed wall paintings. In 1899, archaeologists working at Hierakonpolis in southern Egypt uncovered Tomb 100, a pre-dynastic burial chamber containing wall paintings that shouldn't exist. Created around 3500 BC, over 1,000 years before the first Egyptian dynasty. These detailed murals display artistic sophistication that rivals the best pharaonic artwork. The paintings show complex scenes of boats, animals, and human figures executing activities with narrative detail that suggests advanced cultural development and artistic traditions that supposedly didn't exist in prehistoric Egypt. Tomb 100 contains the earliest known Egyptian narrative wall paintings, predating famous decorated tombs of the pharaohs by more than a millennium. The artwork covers multiple walls with interconnected scenes that tell stories through visual imagery, a sophisticated artistic concept that archaeologists didn't think existed in pre-dynastic cultures. The paintings display technical mastery that challenges assumptions about prehistoric artistic capabilities. Multiple pigments were used to create a full color palette, with figures drawn in proportion and perspective that shows understanding of advanced artistic principles. The level of detail includes facial expressions, clothing patterns, and environmental elements that demonstrate observational skills and artistic training. Dr. Renee Friedman, who has studied the tomb extensively, describes the painting's impossible sophistication. These murals show artistic concepts and execution that we associate with much later Egyptian civilization. The narrative complexity, technical skill, and cultural knowledge they represent suggest that pre-dynastic Egypt had achieved levels of sophistication that we've completely underestimated. The paintings depict scenes of boats with multiple passengers, animals in naturalistic poses, and human activities that suggest complex social organization. Some figures wear elaborate headdresses and clothing that indicates social hierarchies and cultural traditions that seem too advanced for the supposed date of creation. Most mysteriously, some scenes appear to show activities and technologies that don't match other evidence from pre-dynastic Egypt. Boats are depicted with design features that suggest advanced navigation capabilities, and some human activities seem to represent technological or ceremonial practices that weren't thought to exist until much later periods. The tomb's preservation is remarkable, with pigments remaining vivid after 5,500 years. This suggests advanced knowledge of paint preparation and preservation techniques that allowed the artwork to survive in conditions that typically destroy organic materials within centuries. Recent digital analysis of the paintings has revealed additional details that weren't visible to earlier researchers. Multispectral imaging has uncovered layers of artwork, preliminary sketches, and symbolic elements that show the paintings were planned and executed with sophisticated artistic methods. The cultural implications are staggering. If pre-dynastic Egyptians could create narrative wall paintings of this quality, it suggests they possessed written language, complex mythology, and social organization that left no other archaeological traces. The paintings represent cultural achievements that seem to have appeared suddenly without gradual development. Some scenes in the tomb appear to depict activities that connect to later Egyptian religious and cultural practices, suggesting continuity of traditions over thousands of years. This could indicate that many aspects of pharaonic civilization were much older than previously believed. The tomb's location at Hierakonpolis, which later became one of Egypt's most important ceremonial centers, suggests it represents the burial of an important leader or religious figure. The investment in elaborate artwork indicates that pre-dynastic Egyptian society had developed enough wealth and specialization to support professional artists. Hierakonpolis painted tomb forces archaeologists to reconsider the sophistication of pre-dynastic Egyptian civilization and the true origins of ancient Egyptian cultural traditions. These 5,500-year-old paintings represent artistic and cultural achievements that challenge conventional timelines and suggest that advanced Egyptian civilization developed much earlier than mainstream archaeology acknowledges. 30. Stone spheres of Costa Rica, perfect granite orbs of unknown purpose. Scattered throughout the jungles and farms of Costa Rica lie hundreds of perfectly spherical stone balls that defy explanation. These granite orbs, some weighing up to 15 tons and measuring 8 feet in diameter, were carved with mathematical precision that achieves spherical accuracy within centimeters. Created by the mysterious Dequis culture between 600 and 1000 AD, the spheres show no tool marks, no obvious purpose, and construction techniques that seem impossible given the available technology. Local legends claim they're remnants of Atlantis or were made by gods, but science offers no better explanations for how ancient people created perfect spheres from some of the hardest rock on Earth. The Costa Rican stone spheres were first brought to international attention in the 1940s, when United Fruit Company workers clearing land for banana plantations discovered dozens of the mysterious orbs. Over 300 spheres have been documented, ranging from small balls the size of bowling balls to massive monuments that required coordinated teams to move and position. The spheres display geometric perfection that seems impossible to achieve with primitive tools. Measurements using modern surveying equipment have found that many spheres are accurate to within 2 centimeters of perfect roundness, precision that challenges modern stoneworking capabilities. The largest spheres maintain this accuracy across their entire 8-foot diameter. Dr. John Hoops from the University of Kansas, who has studied the spheres extensively, describes their impossible precision. These spheres achieve geometric accuracy that rivals modern machine tooling. Creating perfect spheres from granite requires mathematical knowledge, sophisticated measuring techniques, and tool precision that we didn't think existed in pre-Columbian Costa Rica. The material adds to the mystery. Most spheres are carved from granodiorite, a type of granite that's extremely hard and difficult to work with metal tools, let alone the stone implements available to ancient Costa Rican cultures. Some spheres were transported dozens of miles from their quarry sites to their final positions, requiring engineering capabilities for moving multi-ton objects through dense jungle terrain. No tool marks are visible on any of the spheres, suggesting they were finished to a degree that eliminated all traces of the manufacturing process. This level of surface preparation requires abrasive polishing techniques and finishing work that seems beyond the capabilities of cultures that hadn't developed metallurgy or sophisticated stoneworking tools. The spheres' arrangements suggest deliberate placement according to unknown patterns. Some are found in straight lines, others in geometric configurations, and many are positioned to align with astronomical directions. This indicates they served purposes beyond mere artistic expression, possibly functioning as markers, calendar systems, or territorial boundaries. Recent analysis using ground-penetrating radar and magnetometry has revealed that some spheres are positioned over buried structures or aligned with underground features. This suggests they may have marked important locations or served as monuments commemorating specific sites or events. The cultural context remains completely mysterious. The Dequas people left no written records, and their sphere-making tradition appears to have ended abruptly around 1000 AD. No other culture in the Americas produced similar spheres, making the Costa Rican examples unique in pre-Columbian archaeology. Many spheres have been damaged or moved from their original positions by modern development, but those that remain in situ continue to reveal new information about their purpose and construction. Some appear to have been deliberately buried or covered, suggesting they were hidden or protected by their creators. The stone spheres force uncomfortable questions about the sophistication of pre-Columbian Costa Rican cultures and the development of precision stoneworking techniques in the Americas. These perfect granite orbs represent technological achievements that challenge our understanding of ancient capabilities and suggest that isolated cultures developed knowledge and skills that we're still struggling to comprehend. 31. Göbekli Tepe, Turkey. Hunter-gatherers built astronomical observatory. In 1994, German archaeologist Klaus Schmidt uncovered a discovery that would rewrite human history. Göbekli Tepe, built around 11,500 years ago in southeastern Turkey, represents the world's oldest known temple complex, constructed by hunter-gatherers who weren't supposed to possess the organizational skills, technical knowledge, or astronomical understanding necessary for such monumental architecture. The site predates agriculture, pottery, and the wheel by thousands of years, yet features massive stone pillars arranged in precise circles with astronomical alignments and artistic carvings that demonstrate sophisticated symbolic thinking. The massive T-shaped pillars at Göbekli Tepe, some weighing up to 20 tons, were quarried, carved, transported, and erected using only the tools available to Stone Age peoples. The pillars are arranged in circular enclosures with astronomical alignments that track solstices, equinoxes, and the rising of specific constellations. This level of astronomical knowledge required generations of careful observation and mathematical understanding. Dr. Klaus Schmidt, who led excavations until his death in 2014, expressed the bewilderment that has defined research at this impossible site. Everything we thought we knew about the development of civilization is challenged by Göbekli Tepe. Hunter-gatherers weren't supposed to possess the organizational capabilities, technical knowledge, or astronomical understanding necessary to create this complex. The site's Pillar 43, known as the Vulture Stone, may represent the world's oldest star map, encoding astronomical information about a comet impact that occurred approximately 12,900 years ago. The pillar's carvings correspond to constellation positions during the Younger Dryas period, suggesting that the builders witnessed and recorded a cosmic catastrophe. Recent discoveries at Göbekli Tepe have revealed evidence of skull modification practices that have no parallels in human cultures, living or extinct. Modified human skulls show deep grooves carved using flint implements, indicating previously unknown ritual behaviors that suggest complex spiritual or social practices. The site was deliberately buried around 8000 BC, with tons of earth and stone carefully placed to cover the entire complex. This mysterious decision preserved the monuments for thousands of years but raises questions about why such an important site was abandoned and hidden from future generations. Ground-penetrating radar has revealed that the excavated portions represent only a small fraction of the total complex. Additional circles and structures remain buried, suggesting that Göbekli Tepe was even larger and more complex than currently understood. The implications are staggering. Göbekli Tepe proves that hunter-gatherer societies could organize large-scale construction projects, develop sophisticated astronomical knowledge, and create monumental architecture thousands of years before the supposed invention of agriculture. The site forces a complete reevaluation of human development and suggests that complex civilization emerged much earlier than mainstream archaeology acknowledges. 32. Newgrange, Ireland, 17-minute winter solstice illumination chamber. Every December 21st at exactly 8:54 a.m., something extraordinary happens at Newgrange, a 5,200-year-old passage tomb in Ireland. For precisely 17 minutes, a shaft of sunlight penetrates a specially constructed roof box and illuminates the burial chamber's interior, creating a golden beam that slowly extends across the floor toward the back wall. This astronomical precision, maintained for over 5 millennia, represents one of humanity's most sophisticated achievements in combining architecture, astronomy, and mathematics into a monument that functions as a massive calendar marking the winter solstice with clockwork accuracy. Newgrange predates Stonehenge and the Egyptian pyramids, making it one of the world's oldest astronomical observatories. The monument consists of a massive circular mound 280 feet in diameter, surrounded by 97 standing stones and accessed through a 60-foot passage that leads to a cruciform burial chamber. The entire structure was designed around the single purpose of capturing the winter solstice sunrise. The engineering required to create the solstice illumination effect demonstrates understanding of solar mechanics, architectural principles, and mathematical calculations that challenge assumptions about Neolithic Irish capabilities. The roof box above Newgrange's entrance was designed with specifications so precise that the solstice illumination has continued to function perfectly for over 5,000 years. Dr. Michael O'Kelly, who first documented the modern winter solstice phenomenon at Newgrange, described witnessing an event that transcends normal archaeological experience. At 8:54 a.m. on December 21st, a thin beam of sunlight begins to penetrate the roof box and slowly extends across the chamber floor toward the back recess. For 17 minutes, the entire chamber is filled with golden light, then darkness returns for another year. The 17-minute duration appears to have been deliberately calculated to correspond to human neurological responses to light exposure. Research has shown that 17 minutes of bright light exposure can trigger specific brain chemistry changes associated with altered consciousness and transcendent experiences, suggesting Newgrange was designed as a consciousness-altering machine. Recent analysis has revealed that Newgrange incorporates additional astronomical alignments that track various celestial cycles, including cross-quarter days, lunar standstills, and the rising of specific stars. The monument functions as a comprehensive calendar system that could predict seasonal changes, agricultural timing, and ceremonial dates. The construction required moving over 200,000 tons of stone, some transported from locations 50 miles away. The builders demonstrated advanced knowledge of engineering, astronomy, and logistics that seems impossible for a supposedly primitive Neolithic society. The precision of the astronomical alignments required understanding of solar mechanics that wasn't formally developed until thousands of years later. The passage tomb's art includes intricate spiral carvings that may encode astronomical information or serve as primitive writing systems. The symbols are carved with mathematical precision and positioned according to specific patterns that suggest symbolic communication systems that predate known writing by millennia. Newgrange represents the fusion of astronomy, architecture, neuroscience, and spiritual practice into a monument that demonstrates understanding of human consciousness, celestial mechanics, and engineering principles that challenge our conception of Neolithic capabilities, and suggest that ancient Irish builders possessed knowledge systems that we're still working to understand. 33. Nabta Playa, Egypt, 7,000-year-old star map by nomadic herders. In the harsh Nubian desert of southern Egypt, nomadic cattle herders created what may be humanity's oldest astronomical observatory around 7,000 years ago. Nabta Playa consists of stone circles, alignments, and megalithic structures that track celestial events with mathematical precision that required sophisticated knowledge of astronomy, engineering, and long-term observation. The The site was built by mobile pastoralists who weren't supposed to possess the mathematical and astronomical knowledge necessary for such sophisticated constructions, challenging fundamental assumptions about the relationship between sedentary civilization and scientific development. The stone circle at Nabta Playa contains alignments that track the summer solstice, cardinal directions, and the rising of specific stars with precision that requires generations of careful observation and mathematical calculation. Most remarkably, the site includes alignments to stars that would have been visible 6,000 years ago but are no longer observable from this location due to precession of the equinoxes. Dr. J. McKim Malville, whose research revealed Nabta Playa's astronomical significance, describes discoveries that challenge fundamental assumptions about prehistoric capabilities. This site demonstrates that nomadic peoples of the Sahara possessed sophisticated understanding of astronomical cycles, calendar systems, and mathematical relationships thousands of years before such knowledge was supposedly developed by settled civilizations. The astronomical precision demonstrates that the builders understood precession, the 26,000-year cycle of Earth's axial wobble that causes the apparent positions of stars to shift slowly over time. Such knowledge wasn't supposed to exist until it was documented by Greek astronomers over 4,000 years later. Yet Nabta Playa's alignments prove that Neolithic herders possessed this advanced astronomical knowledge. Recent analysis using computer modeling has revealed additional astronomical alignments that correspond to complex celestial cycles, including the 186-year lunar standstill cycle and various planetary conjunctions. The site functions as a comprehensive astronomical calculator that could predict celestial events with accuracy that rivals modern astronomical software. The megalithic structures include stones arranged in patterns that may represent star maps, with the positions of individual megaliths corresponding to the locations of bright stars in ancient sky configurations. This would make Nabta Playa not just an observatory but also a physical model of the heavens built in stone. The site's construction required sophisticated understanding of surveying techniques, astronomical observation, and mathematical relationships. Creating accurate alignments across the desert landscape demanded precision measurement capabilities and engineering knowledge that seems impossible for mobile herders using only portable tools. Carbon dating and archaeological evidence confirm that Nabta Playa was built by cattle pastoralists who lived a nomadic lifestyle, following seasonal rains and grazing opportunities across the Sahara. Yet these mobile peoples achieved astronomical sophistication that exceeded contemporary settled civilizations. The site was abandoned around 5,500 years ago as climate change transformed the region from grassland to desert, forcing the builders to migrate toward the Nile Valley. Some researchers suggest these astronomical experts may have contributed to the development of ancient Egyptian civilization, bringing their advanced knowledge to the emerging pharaonic culture. Nabta Playa proves that nomadic peoples could develop and maintain sophisticated scientific knowledge without permanent settlements or written records. The site demonstrates that astronomical observation, mathematical understanding, and monumental construction were not dependent on agricultural civilization, but could be achieved by mobile societies with different social organizations. The discovery forces a fundamental reevaluation of how scientific knowledge develops and spreads in human societies, suggesting that ancient nomadic peoples possessed intellectual capabilities and knowledge systems that we've consistently underestimated. 34. Stonehenge Altar Stone, England. 6-ton stone transported 700 kilometers from Scotland. In 2024, researchers made a discovery that transforms our understanding of Neolithic Britain and the true scope of ancient transportation capabilities. Stonehenge's massive altar stone, a 6-ton block of sandstone that forms the monument's focal point, didn't come from Wales as archaeologists had believed for over a century. Advanced geochemical analysis revealed that this crucial element was transported over 700 kilometers from northeastern Scotland, a logistical achievement that challenges every assumption about prehistoric British society and suggests coordination between ancient communities that spans the entire island. The altar stone sits at the heart of Stonehenge's most sacred space, positioned to catch the light during crucial astronomical events. Its placement suggests it held special significance for the monument's builders. Yet the enormous effort required to transport it from Scotland indicates the stone's importance went far beyond mere construction material. Dr. Richard Bevins, whose research team identified the altar stone's Scottish origin, describes the implications. Transporting a 6-ton stone block from Scotland to Salisbury Plain 4,500 years ago represents a logistical achievement that challenges everything we thought we knew about prehistoric British capabilities. This wasn't just moving a large stone. It required planning, coordination, and transportation technology that we didn't think existed in Neolithic Britain. The journey from Scotland to Stonehenge would have required crossing rivers, mountains, and hundreds of kilometers of challenging terrain using only the technologies available to Neolithic peoples. The route could have been overland using wooden rollers and human labor, or maritime via the treacherous North Sea and English Channel waters. Recent analysis has revealed that the altar stone possesses unique acoustic properties that enhance Stonehenge's sound characteristics. When struck, it produces resonant tones that complement the acoustic effects created by the sarsen stones and bluestones, suggesting the monument was designed as a sophisticated acoustic instrument requiring stones with specific sonic properties. The discovery raises profound questions about Neolithic British society and the level of coordination possible between distant communities. Transporting the altar stone required not just technological capability but also social organization that could plan and execute complex projects across vast distances. The precision with which the altar stone was positioned at Stonehenge suggests its specific geological properties were known and valued by the monument's builders. The stone's composition, acoustic characteristics, and symbolic significance were apparently important enough to justify the enormous effort required to transport its 700 kilometers. Archaeological evidence suggests Stonehenge was built in phases over many centuries, with the altar stone added during a period when the monument's astronomical and acoustic functions were being refined. The Scottish connection implies that Neolithic British communities maintained trade networks, communication systems, and shared cultural practices across much greater distances than previously believed. The altar stone discovery forces archaeologists to reconsider the sophistication of Neolithic British society and the true extent of prehistoric transportation capabilities. It suggests that ancient communities could organize and execute projects requiring coordination across distances that seem impossible for supposedly primitive societies. Recent geological surveys are searching for the exact source location of the altar stone in Scotland, hoping to understand the quarrying techniques and transportation routes used by Neolithic builders. The discovery may reveal additional evidence of ancient Scottish sites connected to Stonehenge construction. The altar stone represents either evidence of lost transportation technology that we've underestimated, or proof that Neolithic British communities possessed organizational capabilities and social networks that extended across the entire island, demonstrating coordination and planning that challenges our understanding of prehistoric human achievement. 35. Carnac stones, France, 3,000 standing stones in precise alignments. Across the Breton landscape of northwestern France, over 3,000 standing stones create alignments that stretch for kilometers in patterns of mathematical precision that challenge every assumption about Neolithic capabilities. The Carnac stones, erected between 4,500 and 3,300 BCE, represent one of the world's largest prehistoric monuments, arranged according to complex geometric principles that suggest sophisticated understanding of astronomy, mathematics, and large-scale construction planning. The stones decrease in height from west to east in mathematical progressions that indicate advanced knowledge of proportional relationships and standardized measurement systems. The megaliths are arranged in 3 major groups: Menek, Kermerio, and Kurliskan, each containing hundreds of stones organized in parallel rows that extend across the countryside. The precision of these alignments required surveying techniques and mathematical knowledge that seems impossible for cultures that supposedly lacked writing, formal mathematics, or advanced measuring tools. Dr. Alexander Thom's groundbreaking surveys in the 1960s revealed that the Carnac alignments incorporate a standardized unit of measurement, the megalithic yard, that appears at stone circles and alignments across Europe. This standardization suggests coordination between Neolithic communities separated by thousands of kilometers and centuries of time. Recent analysis using GPS mapping and computer modeling has revealed that the Carnac alignments incorporate complex astronomical calculations that predict lunar cycles, solar events, and eclipses with precision that requires generations of careful observation. The monument functions as a massive stone computer that could calculate celestial events decades or centuries in advance. The mathematical relationships encoded in the stone positions include principles related to Pythagorean geometry, logarithmic progressions, and concepts that anticipate aspects of calculus and advanced mathematics. These relationships weren't supposed to be discovered by formal mathematics until thousands of years later, yet they're built into the very structure of the Karnak alignments. The construction logistics challenge modern understanding of Neolithic capabilities. Moving and erecting over 3,000 stones, some weighing multiple tons, required organizational skills, engineering knowledge, and labor coordination that seems impossible for supposedly primitive societies. The precision of the alignments demanded accurate surveying across kilometers of landscape. Recent archaeological investigation has revealed that the Karnak region was densely populated during the monument's construction period, with evidence of sophisticated settlements, burial chambers, and other megalithic structures that suggest a complex society capable of monumental construction projects. The stone's orientations correspond to multiple astronomical phenomena, including sunrise and sunset positions during solstices and equinoxes, lunar standstills, and the rising of specific star groups. This astronomical knowledge was encoded in stone positions that would maintain their accuracy for thousands of years. Ground-penetrating radar and other survey techniques have revealed that many stones are positioned over buried structures, suggesting the alignments marked important locations or served as monuments commemorating specific sites or events. The relationship between surface stones and underground features adds another layer of complexity to the monument's design. The purpose of the Karnak stones remains mysterious, but their scale and precision suggest they served functions crucial to Neolithic Breton society. Whether astronomical calendars, territorial markers, or religious monuments, they represent planning and execution capabilities that challenge our understanding of prehistoric achievement. The Karnak alignments force archaeologists to confront the possibility that Neolithic European cultures possessed mathematical, astronomical, and engineering knowledge that we've consistently underestimated. These stone rows represent intellectual achievements that rival formal mathematics while demonstrating organizational capabilities that suggest complex prehistoric societies with knowledge systems that we're still working to understand. 36. Hyperborean artifacts, Siberia, advanced metalwork in frozen permafrost. In the permanently frozen ground of northern Siberia, archaeologists have discovered metal artifacts that challenge everything we understand about prehistoric Arctic cultures. These bronze and iron objects, preserved in permafrost for thousands of years, display metallurgical sophistication and artistic refinement that seems impossible for peoples living in one of Earth's harshest environments. The artifacts include precision-made tools, elaborate ornaments, and weapons that show advanced knowledge of metallurgy, design principles, and manufacturing techniques that rival contemporary civilizations from warmer climates. The Siberian artifacts are emerging from thawing permafrost as climate change melts ground that has remained frozen for millennia. These discoveries include bronze mirrors with intricate decorative patterns, iron weapons with complex forging techniques, and jewelry that displays artistic styles unknown from other Arctic cultures. Dr. Sergei Zimov, whose research in Siberian permafrost has revealed numerous impossible discoveries, describes the archaeological community's bewilderment. The thawing permafrost is revealing evidence of Arctic cultures that possessed sophisticated technologies and artistic traditions that we never suspected existed. These peoples achieved metallurgical skills that rival civilizations from much more favorable climates. The preservation conditions in permafrost have maintained organic materials that provide unprecedented insights into Arctic prehistoric life. Wooden tool handles, leather wrappings, and textile fragments show technological sophistication and artistic achievement that challenges assumptions about survival capabilities in extreme northern environments. Recent discoveries include metal objects with surface treatments and decorative techniques that suggest knowledge of advanced metallurgical processes. Some artifacts show evidence of techniques like niello inlay, complex alloy compositions, and heat treatments that require sophisticated understanding of metal properties and specialized equipment. The artifact's cultural context is equally mysterious. They're found in association with evidence of large settlements, complex burial practices, and social organization that suggests Arctic peoples developed civilizations that were far more sophisticated than traditional archaeological models predict. Carbon dating places many artifacts in time periods when conventional archaeology suggests Arctic regions were sparsely populated by simple hunter-gatherer societies. Yet the metallurgical evidence indicates complex production systems, trade networks, and technological knowledge that required specialized craftsmen and social organization. Some artifacts show artistic styles and technological features that don't match any known Arctic cultures, but display similarities to advanced civilizations from distant regions. This suggests either unknown migration patterns or independent development of sophisticated technologies in Arctic environments. The discovery of smelting sites and workshop areas in permafrost reveals that these weren't imported objects, but were manufactured locally by Arctic peoples who developed their own metallurgical traditions. The technical capabilities demonstrated exceed what should be possible in environments where fuel for high-temperature processes would be extremely limited. Recent analysis using advanced spectroscopy and metallography has revealed that some Siberian artifacts use alloy compositions and manufacturing techniques that weren't developed elsewhere until much later periods. This suggests Arctic metallurgists achieved technological innovations that predated similar developments in other regions. The Hyperborean artifacts represent evidence of advanced Arctic civilizations that developed sophisticated technologies despite environmental challenges that would seem to make such achievements impossible. These discoveries force reconsideration of human adaptability and the potential for technological development in extreme environments. 37. Olmec Colossal Heads, Mexico. Massive basalt sculptures with African features. Deep in the jungles of Mexico, the mysterious Olmec civilization left behind 17 massive stone heads that continue to puzzle archaeologists with their artistic sophistication and disturbing implications. These colossal sculptures, some weighing up to 50 tons and standing 11 feet tall, were carved from basalt blocks transported from quarries over 60 miles away. Created between 1400 and 400 BC, the heads display facial features that many researchers believe show African characteristics, suggesting possible transoceanic contact thousands of years before Columbus. The precision of the carving and the logistics of their creation challenge our understanding of pre-Columbian American capabilities. The Olmec heads display remarkable artistic achievement that required advanced understanding of sculpture, proportion, and stoneworking techniques. Each head shows individual facial features, elaborate headdresses, and artistic details that suggest they represent specific individuals rather than generic rulers or gods. Dr. Ivan van Sertima, whose research focused on possible African influence in pre-Columbian America, described the head's controversial features. These sculptures display facial characteristics, broad noses, full lips, and other features that are distinctly African in appearance. The artistic accuracy suggests the sculptors were depicting people they had actually seen, not imagining exotic features. The transportation of the massive basalt blocks from distant quarries represents an engineering achievement that challenges assumptions about Olmec capabilities. Moving 50-ton stones across 60 miles of jungle terrain without wheels, draft animals, or metal tools required organizational skills and technical knowledge that seems impossible for the supposed technological level of pre-Columbian Americans. Recent analysis of the basalt composition has confirmed that the stones came from specific quarries in the Tuxtla Mountains, requiring precise knowledge of stone quality and characteristics. The Olmec demonstrated sophisticated understanding of geology and material science in selecting stones suitable for detailed carving. The heads' helmets or headdresses display intricate patterns and symbolic elements that suggest complex cultural and religious significance. Some researchers interpret these decorations as evidence of sophisticated social hierarchies, military organizations, or religious systems that required specialized artisans and cultural knowledge. Archaeological evidence from Olmec sites includes other artifacts that some researchers interpret as showing African influence, including terracotta figurines with African features, bone remains that some claim show African ancestry, and cultural practices that parallel African traditions. The implications of possible transoceanic contact are staggering. If Africans reached the Americas thousands of years before Columbus, it would revolutionize our understanding of ancient navigation capabilities, cultural exchange, and the development of American civilizations. Skeptics argue that the facial features represent natural variation within indigenous American populations, and that the apparent African characteristics result from artistic stylization rather than actual contact. They point out that no definitely African artifacts have been found in Olmec contexts. However, recent genetic studies of ancient American populations have revealed more genetic diversity than previously understood, including lineages that some researchers suggest could indicate ancient African admixture. While controversial, this genetic evidence supports the possibility of pre-Columbian contact. The Olmec colossal heads represent either remarkable artistic achievement that coincidentally resembles African features, or evidence of transoceanic contact that predates known exploration by thousands of years. Either interpretation challenges our understanding of pre-Columbian American development and the true extent of ancient navigation and cultural exchange. 38. Ancient concrete, Rome. Self-healing concrete stronger than modern versions. Nearly 2,000 years after its construction, Roman concrete structures like the Pantheon and Colosseum remain standing while modern concrete begins deteriorating within decades. Recent analysis has revealed that Roman concrete possesses self-healing properties that allow it to repair cracks automatically, using chemical processes that continue to function after millennia. This ancient technology, created from volcanic ash, lime, and seawater, produces concrete that actually grows stronger over time rather than weaker, challenging our understanding of materials science and suggesting that modern construction has lost crucial knowledge that the Romans possessed. Roman concrete's extraordinary durability comes from its unique composition and chemical properties that weren't understood until recently. The Romans used volcanic ash from Mount Vesuvius and other sources, creating a concrete that reacts with seawater to form new mineral compounds that strengthen the structure over time. Dr. Marie Jackson from the University of Utah, whose research has unlocked the secrets of Roman concrete, describes the material's impossible properties. Roman marine concrete continues to strengthen after 2,000 years of exposure to seawater. Modern concrete begins deteriorating immediately upon contact with salt water, yet Roman structures become more durable over time through ongoing chemical reactions. The self-healing mechanism works through lime clasts, small chunks of lime that were traditionally considered impurities in Roman concrete. When cracks form, these lime clasts react with water to create new calcium carbonate crystals that automatically fill and seal the damage, restoring the concrete's integrity without human intervention. Recent microscopic analysis has revealed that Roman concrete contains a complex network of mineral fibers and crystalline structures that give it flexibility and strength properties that exceed modern materials. The concrete can bend without breaking and redistribute stress loads in ways that prevent catastrophic failure. The Romans' understanding of chemistry and material science seems impossible for their technological level. They somehow discovered that specific types of volcanic ash, when combined with lime and seawater, would create chemical reactions that produce superior building materials. This knowledge was apparently lost when the Roman Empire fell. Modern attempts to recreate Roman concrete have been partially successful, but contemporary versions don't achieve the same durability and self-healing properties as authentic Roman materials. Something about the original manufacturing process or material selection hasn't been fully understood despite decades of research. The environmental implications are staggering. Roman concrete production required less energy than modern cement manufacturing and created materials that lasted millennia rather than decades. If we could recreate Roman concrete technology, it would revolutionize sustainable construction and dramatically reduce the environmental impact of building. Archaeological investigation of Roman concrete structures has revealed construction techniques that maximized the material's unique properties. Roman engineers understood how to use their concrete's self-healing capabilities, flexibility, and strength characteristics to create structures that would improve over time. Recent experiments with Roman concrete recipes have shown that the material's properties can be enhanced by specific mixing techniques, curing processes, and aggregate selection that the Romans apparently mastered through empirical observation and experimentation over centuries. The loss of Roman concrete technology represents one of history's most significant technological regressions. Knowledge that took centuries to develop was completely forgotten, forcing modern engineers to rediscover principles that ancient builders understood and used routinely. Roman concrete demonstrates that ancient peoples achieved technological sophistication in specific areas that exceeded modern capabilities. This superior building material suggests that technological progress isn't always linear and that important knowledge can be lost when civilizations fall, requiring later generations to rediscover principles that were once common knowledge. 39. Damascus steel, Syria, lost metallurgy technique creating superior swords. For over 1,000 years, Damascus steel was the stuff of legends. Swords so sharp they could cut through silk scarves dropped on their blades, so flexible they could bend without breaking, and so durable they remained razor-sharp through countless battles. Created primarily in the Middle East from around 300 to 1700 CE, these weapons displayed metallurgical properties that modern science is only beginning to understand. When production ceased in the 18th century, the knowledge died with the last master smiths, leaving behind only the mysterious blades themselves and centuries of failed attempts to recreate the impossible steel. Damascus steel's legendary properties included hardness that allowed it to cut through European armor, while maintaining flexibility that prevented the blade from breaking under stress. The steel displayed distinctive watered patterns on its surface that couldn't be reproduced through traditional forging. Techniques, indicating internal structures that were invisible to ancient metallurgists yet carefully controlled through empirical methods. Modern analysis of surviving Damascus steel artifacts has revealed the impossible secret of their construction. Using electron microscopy, researchers discovered that the steel contains carbon nanotubes and nanowires, microscopic structures that weren't supposed to be discovered until the 20th century. These nanostructures, formed through precise temperature control and specific forging techniques, created molecular-level reinforcement that gave Damascus steel its legendary properties. Dr. Peter Poffler, whose team at Dresden University first identified the nanostructures in Damascus steel, expressed the bewilderment felt throughout the materials science community. These ancient smiths were creating nanotechnology without understanding the atomic-level processes involved. They achieved results through empirical methods that we can barely reproduce with modern equipment and scientific understanding. The techniques for producing authentic Damascus steel required not just skilled craftsmanship but precise understanding of temperature control, timing, and material science. The smiths who created this steel possessed empirical knowledge of processes that modern science explains through quantum mechanics and materials engineering. The steel was made from wood ingots imported from India, containing specific impurities and trace elements that were crucial to the final product's properties. When the sources of proper wood steel changed in the 18th century, Damascus steel production became impossible, suggesting the ancient smiths understood material requirements that we're still struggling to define. Recent attempts to recreate Damascus steel have achieved limited success using modern analytical techniques and controlled manufacturing processes. However, no modern recreation has matched the combination of properties found in original Damascus blades, indicating that crucial aspects of the ancient process remain unknown. The knowledge loss represents one of metallurgy's greatest mysteries. Skills that took centuries to develop and required master-apprentice relationships to maintain simply vanished when the last Damascus steel smiths died without passing on their complete knowledge to the next generation. Archaeological investigation has revealed that Damascus steel production centers possessed sophisticated equipment and techniques that exceeded typical medieval metallurgy. Workshop remains show evidence of precise temperature control, specialized furnaces, and manufacturing processes that required advanced understanding of material science. The cultural impact of Damascus steel extended far beyond the Middle East, with European knights and collectors prizing Damascus blades above all other weapons. The steel's reputation was so legendary that it influenced military tactics, trade relationships, and cultural exchanges throughout the medieval world. Damascus steel represents ancient technological achievement that we're still working to understand and recreate. The loss of this knowledge demonstrates how advanced manufacturing techniques can disappear completely, leaving only the products themselves as testimony to capabilities that once existed but can no longer be reproduced with certainty. 40. Greek fire, Byzantine. Incendiary weapon formula lost to history. For over 800 years, the Byzantine Empire possessed a secret weapon so terrifying that enemies fled at the mere sight of its flames. Greek fire was an incendiary compound that burned on water, couldn't be extinguished by conventional means, and was launched from siphons mounted on Byzantine warships like ancient flamethrowers. The formula was so closely guarded that only the emperor and a few master craftsmen knew its composition, and when the Byzantine Empire fell in 1453, the secret died with them. Despite centuries of attempts, no one has successfully recreated Greek fire, leaving one of history's most effective weapons forever lost to time. Greek fire was first used in 678 CE during the First Arab Siege of Constantinople, where it proved devastatingly effective against the attacking fleet. The weapon could be projected through bronze tubes, pumped through siphons, or launched in pottery containers that broke on impact and spread burning liquid across enemy ships. Contemporary accounts describe Greek fire's impossible properties. It burned fiercely on water, actually seemed to burn more intensely when water was applied, and produced flames that stuck to whatever they touched like ancient napalm. The psychological impact was as devastating as the physical damage, with enemies abandoning attacks rather than face the terrifying flames. Anna Komnenos, the Byzantine historian, wrote, "This fire is made by the following arts. From the pine and certain such evergreen trees, inflammable resin is collected. The liquid fire which is hurled by hand or shot through tubes burns the ships. Yet even this partial description fails to explain the weapon's unique properties. The secrecy surrounding Greek fire was absolute. The emperor reportedly required those who knew the formula to swear sacred oaths never to reveal it, and the knowledge was passed down through only a few families of firemasters who maintained the secret for centuries. This security ensured the weapon's effectiveness but ultimately guaranteed its loss. Modern attempts to recreate Greek fire have focused on various combinations of naphtha, sulfur, saltpeter, and other incendiary materials available to Byzantine chemists. Some experiments have produced effective incendiary weapons, but none have replicated the specific properties described in historical accounts. Recent analysis suggests Greek fire may have been an early form of liquid petroleum or a sophisticated chemical mixture that included components we haven't identified. The weapon's ability to burn on water and resist conventional extinguishing methods indicates chemical properties that were advanced for medieval technology. The manufacturing process apparently required specialized equipment and techniques that were as secret as the formula itself. Byzantine workshops contained apparatus for distilling, mixing, and storing the incendiary compound under conditions that prevented accidental ignition while maintaining effectiveness. Archaeological investigation of Byzantine military sites has revealed remains of Greek fire production facilities, including specialized furnaces, storage chambers, and workshop areas designed for handling dangerous incendiary materials. These installations suggest industrial-scale production of the weapon. The tactical importance of Greek fire cannot be overstated. It allowed the Byzantine Empire to maintain naval supremacy and defend Constantinople against repeated sieges. The weapon's effectiveness was so legendary that enemies often avoided naval confrontations with Byzantine forces entirely. The loss of Greek fire represents one of military history's most significant technological disasters. A weapon system that had protected an empire for centuries simply vanished, leaving only historical descriptions and failed attempts at recreation as evidence of its once terrifying effectiveness. Greek fire demonstrates how quickly advanced technologies can be lost when they depend on secret knowledge rather than widespread understanding. The weapon's disappearance reminds us that technological capabilities can vanish completely, leaving future generations to wonder how ancient peoples achieved results that we can no longer replicate. 41. Mayan blue paint, Central America, indestructible pigment chemistry unknown. Deep in the jungles of Central America, Mayan artists created a blue pigment so chemically stable that it has remained vibrant for over 1,500 years despite exposure to acids, heat, light, and biological solvents that destroy other ancient colors. Mayan blue adorns temple walls, murals, and codices with a brilliant azure color that modern paint manufacturers cannot replicate using the known ingredients. The pigment's impossible durability results from a unique molecular structure that combines clay minerals with organic dyes in ways that create chemical bonds stronger than the individual components, representing nanotechnology that predates modern chemistry by over a millennium. Mayan blue was created by combining indigo dye from local plants with a specific type of clay called palygorskite, but the simple combination of these ingredients doesn't produce the extraordinary durability found in ancient examples. The Maya somehow discovered a manufacturing process that created molecular-level interactions between organic and inorganic compounds, forming a hybrid material with properties that exceed both components. Dr. Constantino Reyes Valerio, who has studied Mayan blue for decades, describes the pigment's impossible properties. This paint has survived exposure to nitric acid, temperatures over 300 degrees Celsius, and centuries of tropical climate without fading or degrading. We can't create modern pigments with this level of chemical stability using any known process. Recent analysis using advanced spectroscopy and electron microscopy has revealed that Mayan blue contains nanostructures that weren't supposed to be possible with ancient technology. The indigo molecules are trapped within the clay's crystal structure in ways that protect them from chemical and environmental damage while maintaining their brilliant color. The manufacturing process apparently required precise temperature control, timing, and chemical conditions that the Maya achieved without understanding the molecular processes involved. They created nanotechnology through empirical experimentation that produced results modern chemistry struggles to duplicate. Various Maya sites show evidence of blue paint production, including workshop areas with specialized heating facilities and evidence of large-scale pigment manufacturing. This suggests the knowledge was widespread rather than limited to a few master craftsmen, yet no complete description of the process survives in Mayan records. Modern attempts to recreate Mayan blue have achieved partial success, producing pigments with enhanced durability but not matching the extraordinary stability of authentic ancient examples. The complete process apparently included steps or conditions that haven't been identified despite decades of research. The cultural importance of blue in Mayan society made this pigment crucial for religious and artistic expression. Blue was associated with rain, water, and sacrifice, making the color essential for temple decoration, ceremonial objects, and religious manuscripts that needed to maintain their appearance for ritual purposes. Archaeological investigation has revealed that Mayan blue was used not just for decoration but also for coating objects intended to last forever, including burial goods, religious artifacts, and architectural elements that were meant to maintain their appearance throughout eternity. The discovery of Mayan blue has influenced modern materials science research, inspiring new approaches to creating stable pigments and protective coatings. Understanding how the Maya achieved such remarkable chemical stability could revolutionize paint technology and conservation science. Recent experiments using modern analytical techniques have begun to unlock some secrets of Mayan blue production, but the complete process remains elusive. The pigment represents ancient chemical knowledge that exceeded formal understanding by over 1,000 years. Mayan blue demonstrates that ancient peoples could achieve technological results through empirical methods that we're still working to understand scientifically. The pigment's extraordinary durability represents chemical engineering that combined art, science, and technology into materials that have outlasted the civilization that created them. 42. Icebound artifacts, glaciers, perfectly preserved ancient objects in melting ice. As global warming melts glaciers worldwide, perfectly preserved artifacts are emerging from ice that has held them frozen for thousands of years. These discoveries include leather clothing that looks newly made, wooden tools with original carved details intact, and organic materials that should have decomposed millennia ago. The ice-preserved artifacts provide unprecedented insights into ancient cultures while revealing technological sophistication and survival capabilities that challenge our understanding of prehistoric life in extreme environments. The preservation quality in glacial ice exceeds anything seen in traditional archaeological contexts. Organic materials that normally decompose within centuries remain intact with colors, textures, and structural details preserved as if they were created yesterday rather than thousands of years ago. Dr. Albert Hafner, who has studied alpine ice discoveries, describes the impossible preservation. We're finding leather, wood, and textile materials that are thousands of years old, but preserved as if they were made yesterday. The glacial environment has created preservation conditions that exceed anything we see in normal archaeological contexts. Recent discoveries in the Swiss Alps include a 5,300-year-old leather shoe that retains its original stitching, a bow with the string still attached, and clothing made from materials and techniques that demonstrate sophisticated understanding of cold weather survival technology. The Schneijock Pass, revealed by glacial retreat in 2003, has yielded over 300 artifacts spanning 6,000 years of human activity. The discoveries include Neolithic leather clothing, Bronze Age weapons, Roman coins, and medieval items, creating a timeline of human presence in high alpine environments. Carbon dating of ice-preserved artifacts consistently produces ages that challenge assumptions about human presence in glacial environments. Some discoveries suggest people were living and traveling in high mountain regions during periods when such areas were thought to be uninhabitable. The technological sophistication of ice-preserved artifacts exceeds expectations for prehistoric mountain cultures. Clothing shows advanced tailoring techniques, tools display precision manufacturing, and equipment demonstrates knowledge of materials science that enabled survival in extreme conditions. Recent discoveries in Norwegian ice patches include a 6,100-year-old arrow shaft with the fletching still attached, reindeer bones with intact marrow from 4,200 years ago, and evidence of continuous hunting activities spanning millennia in regions now considered too harsh for regular human presence. The artifacts reveal survival technologies that modern outdoor enthusiasts are only rediscovering. Ancient clothing designs, tool construction, and equipment selection show understanding of cold weather survival that rivals contemporary mountaineering knowledge. Archaeological teams are racing against time as climate change accelerates ice melting, threatening to destroy artifacts before they can be recovered and studied. Each melting season reveals new discoveries while simultaneously destroying others that have been preserved for millennia. The ice-preserved artifacts demonstrate that ancient peoples possessed technological knowledge and survival capabilities that enabled them to thrive in environments that challenge modern humans equipped with advanced gear and scientific understanding. Some discoveries include items that show long-distance trade and cultural exchange in high mountain environments, suggesting that glacial regions served as travel corridors rather than barriers for ancient peoples with appropriate survival technologies. The icebound artifacts represent a unique archaeological resource that provides direct access to ancient technologies and survival strategies that were developed for extreme environments. These discoveries challenge assumptions about prehistoric capabilities while revealing knowledge systems that we're still working to understand and appreciate. 43. Permafrost mummies, Siberia. Frozen burials revealing impossible preservation. In the permanently frozen ground of Siberia, archaeologists have discovered human remains so perfectly preserved that they appear to have died recently rather than thousands of years ago. These permafrost mummies retain soft tissues, hair, clothing, and even stomach contents that provide unprecedented insights into ancient Siberian cultures. The preservation quality surpasses Egyptian mummification techniques, yet was achieved through natural processes that maintained cellular structures, organic materials, and biological details that should have decomposed millennia ago. The Siberian permafrost has created preservation conditions that rival the best laboratory techniques, maintaining human remains in states that exceed anything achieved through artificial mummification. Soft tissues retain their original texture, hair maintains its color and structure, and clothing appears newly made despite being thousands of years old. The Siberian Ice Maiden, discovered in 1993, represents one of the most perfectly preserved ancient humans ever found. The 2,500-year-old mummy retained intricate tattoos on her skin, elaborate clothing made from silk and wool, and even the contents of her last meal in her stomach. Dr. Natalia Polismak, who discovered the Ice Maiden, describes preservation that defies scientific explanation. The body was so well preserved that we could see individual tattoo lines, examine the weave of her clothing, and analyze plant materials in her stomach. The preservation quality exceeds what we can achieve with modern techniques. Recent discoveries include mummies with intact organs, preserved blood vessels, and cellular structures that remain identifiable under microscopic examination. Some bodies show evidence of ancient medical procedures, including surgical interventions and treatments that suggest advanced medical knowledge. The clothing and artifacts found with permafrost mummies demonstrate technological sophistication that challenges assumptions about ancient Siberian cultures. Textiles show complex weaving techniques, metalwork displays advanced skills, and organic materials reveal knowledge of preservation and processing methods. Carbon dating of permafrost mummies has revealed ages that extend human presence in Siberia much further back than previously believed. Some remains suggest sophisticated cultures existed in Arctic regions during periods when such areas were thought to be uninhabitable. The mummy's stomach contents provide direct evidence of ancient diets, medical practices, and environmental conditions. Analysis has revealed medicinal plants, exotic foods that indicate long-distance trade, and evidence of sophisticated knowledge about nutrition and health maintenance. Recent discoveries include family groups buried together with identical preservation quality, suggesting that permafrost mummification was sometimes intentional rather than accidental. The burial contexts indicate cultural practices that took advantage of natural preservation conditions. The tattoos found on permafrost mummies display artistic sophistication and symbolic complexity that rivals any ancient artistic tradition. The designs include animal motifs, geometric patterns, and symbolic elements that suggest complex belief systems and cultural practices. Genetic analysis of permafrost mummies has revealed unexpected population diversity and migration patterns that challenge traditional models of human movement and settlement in Arctic regions. Some genetic markers suggest connections to populations from distant regions. The discovery rate of permafrost mummies is accelerating as climate change melts previously stable frozen ground, revealing burial sites that have been hidden for millennia while simultaneously threatening their preservation through thawing. These Siberian mummies represent a unique archaeological resource that provides direct access to ancient Arctic cultures with preservation quality that enables research impossible with typical archaeological remains. The discoveries reveal sophisticated societies that thrived in extreme environments using technologies and knowledge systems that we're still working to understand. 44. Desert glass formations, Sahara, ancient nuclear-level heat signatures. Scattered across the Sahara Desert lie thousands of pieces of mysterious glass formed by temperatures exceeding 1,700 degrees Celsius. Heat so intense that it instantly vitrified sand into yellow-green glass formations called Libyan desert glass. These formations cover an area of 6,500 square kilometers and appear to have been created by a sudden, catastrophic event that generated nuclear-level temperatures across a vast region approximately 26 million years ago. While mainstream science attributes the glass to a meteorite impact or airburst, some researchers propose more exotic explanations, including ancient nuclear warfare or unknown energy phenomena. Libyan desert glass consists of nearly pure silica glass with a clarity and composition that exceeds most manufactured glass. The formations include pieces weighing several kilograms, scattered across the desert in patterns that suggest a single catastrophic event rather than gradual formation over time. The temperatures required to create such glass formations cannot be achieved by conventional fires or natural processes. Creating pure silica glass requires temperatures that exceed the melting point of sand by several hundred degrees, indicating an energy source of extraordinary intensity and duration. Dr. Maximiliano Rocca, who has studied the glass formations extensively, describes their impossible creation. These glass formations required sustained temperatures over 1,700 degrees Celsius across thousands of square kilometers. No known natural process except nuclear reactions or massive cosmic impacts can generate such intense, widespread heat. Recent analysis has failed to find evidence of meteoric material or impact craters that would typically accompany formation of such extensive glass fields. The absence of typical impact signatures has led some researchers to propose alternative explanations for the extraordinary temperatures. Some researchers have noted similarities between Libyan desert glass and trinitite, the glass formed at nuclear test sites where atomic weapons melted sand into glass. Both materials show similar formation patterns, chemical compositions, and evidence of intense, instantaneous heating. Ancient Egyptian pharaohs prized Libyan desert glass for jewelry and ceremonial objects, including a scarab carved from the glass found in Tutankhamun's burial treasure. This indicates the glass was known and valued by ancient peoples who may have witnessed its formation or discovered it shortly afterward. The glass formation's age and distribution pattern challenge conventional explanations. If formed by meteorite impact, the event should have left identifiable crater signatures and debris patterns that haven't been found despite extensive geological surveys of the region. Recent chemical analysis has revealed trace elements in the glass that don't match typical meteorite compositions but include isotopic signatures that some researchers interpret as evidence of artificial nuclear reactions rather than natural cosmic events. The geographic distribution of Libyan desert glass follows patterns that some researchers argue are more consistent with ground-level explosions than aerial impacts. The glass appears in concentrated areas separated by regions with no glass formations, suggesting multiple simultaneous events rather than a single impact. Archaeological investigation has revealed that some ancient settlements in the region show evidence of vitrification and heat damage that corresponds to the same time period as the glass formation, suggesting the event affected human populations. Whether formed by cosmic impact, ancient nuclear warfare, or unknown energy phenomena, Libyan desert glass represents evidence of temperatures and forces that vastly exceed normal terrestrial processes. The formations continue to challenge our understanding of what events could create such widespread vitrification in ancient times. The mystery of Libyan desert glass forces uncomfortable questions about the possibility of advanced ancient technologies, unknown cosmic events, or geological processes that we haven't yet understood, while providing physical evidence of energy releases that rival modern nuclear weapons. 45. Flood legends worldwide, global memories of catastrophic deluge. Across the globe, hundreds of cultures that never contacted each other all tell remarkably similar stories of a great flood that destroyed the ancient world. From the biblical account of Noah to Mesopotamian tales of Gilgamesh, from Hindu stories of Manu to Native American legends of world-ending waters, these flood narratives share specific details that seem too consistent to be coincidental. Modern geology has confirmed that massive flooding events did occur at the end of the last ice age, suggesting these universal stories may preserve actual memories of catastrophic events that affected early human civilization worldwide. The flood legends appear in cultures separated by oceans, continents, and thousands of years, yet they share remarkably consistent elements. A divine warning, one righteous family saved on a boat, animals preserved in pairs or groups, a global deluge that destroys civilization, and the establishment of a new world order after the waters recede. The Sumerian epic of Gilgamesh, written over 4,000 years ago, tells of Utnapishtim, who was warned by the gods to build a great boat to survive a flood sent to destroy humanity. The biblical account of Noah follows an almost identical narrative structure, suggesting both stories derive from common source material or shared historical memory. Dr. Bruce Mass, an environmental archaeologist, has documented over 500 flood legends from cultures worldwide and notes their impossible consistency. These stories share specific details that go beyond generic flood mythology. They describe global catastrophes, specific survival strategies, and aftermath scenarios that are too similar to be independent cultural inventions. Recent geological evidence supports the possibility of massive flooding events that could have inspired global flood memories. The Younger Dryas period, approximately 12,900 years ago, saw rapid climate change, massive ice sheet melting, and sea level changes that would have inundated coastal settlements worldwide. The Black Sea Deluge hypothesis proposes that a catastrophic breach of the Bosphorus around 7,500 years ago transformed the Black Sea from a freshwater lake into a saltwater sea, flooding thousands of square kilometers of inhabited land and forcing massive population migrations. Similar catastrophic flooding events have been identified in other regions during the same time period, including massive outburst floods from glacial lakes, rapid sea level rise that inundated continental shelves, and climate-driven changes that made previously habitable areas uninhabitable. The consistency of flood legends suggests they may preserve accurate historical memories passed down through oral tradition for thousands of years. If early human settlements were concentrated in coastal areas and river valleys, massive flooding events would have affected populations worldwide simultaneously. Recent archaeological evidence has revealed submerged settlements and drowned landscapes that confirm major flooding events occurred during periods when human civilization was developing. These discoveries validate the possibility that flood legends preserve actual historical events. The global distribution of flood stories appears to correlate with areas that experienced major flooding during deglaciation periods, suggesting the legends represent cultural memories of real catastrophic events rather than purely mythological narratives. Some researchers propose that comet impacts or airbursts could have triggered rapid ice melting and global flooding, creating the simultaneous worldwide catastrophe described in flood legends. Evidence for cosmic impacts during the Younger Dryas period supports this possibility. DNA analysis of modern populations shows evidence of severe population bottlenecks that occurred during the same time periods as geological evidence for massive flooding, suggesting these events significantly affected human populations worldwide. The flood legends represent either remarkable coincidence of independent mythological development or preserved memories of actual catastrophic events that affected early human civilization globally. The geological evidence supports the possibility that these stories preserve accurate historical information about real disasters that shaped human development. 46. Rising sea level discoveries, coastlines, submerged sites revealing lost civilizations. As sea levels rise due to climate change, coastal erosion and shifting sands are revealing archaeological sites that have been hidden for millennia beneath water and sediment. These discoveries include ancient settlements, harbor structures, and ceremonial sites that were built when coastlines extended far beyond their current boundaries. The emerging archaeology provides evidence of sophisticated coastal civilizations that flourished during periods of lower sea level, challenging our understanding of ancient maritime cultures and the antiquity of human coastal settlement. Coastal archaeology has revealed that ancient peoples built substantial settlements and infrastructure in areas that are now underwater or subject to periodic flooding. These discoveries suggest that significant portions of the archaeological record lie hidden beneath water or are only occasionally accessible during extreme low tides or storms. The Severn estuary in Britain regularly reveals ancient forests, animal trackways, and human footprints that date to periods when the area was dryland. These discoveries include evidence of human activity from over 8,000 years ago, when sea levels were much lower than today. Dr. Martin Bell, who has studied coastal archaeology extensively, describes the implications. We're finding evidence of human settlements and activities that predate the establishment of current coastlines by thousands of years. These discoveries suggest that significant portions of human prehistory took place in areas that are now underwater. Recent storms and coastal erosion have revealed stone structures, ancient field systems, and settlement remains that indicate sophisticated land use and construction in areas that have been submerged for millennia. These discoveries challenge assumptions about the locations and permanence of ancient settlements. The North Sea regularly yields archaeological material including worked flints, bone tools, and evidence of human activity from Doggerland, the vast plain that connected Britain to continental Europe during the last ice age. Fishing nets bring up artifacts that provide glimpses of lost civilizations. Coastal sites worldwide show evidence of massive stone structures, harbor installations, and settlement remains that were built when sea levels were lower. These discoveries suggest that ancient peoples invested in permanent coastal infrastructure that was later abandoned as seas rose. Recent discoveries include submerged field systems, stone walls, and agricultural terraces that indicate intensive land use in areas that are now completely underwater. The preservation of these features suggests rapid submersion that prevented normal erosion and decay. Archaeological investigation of coastal sites requires specialized techniques and equipment to work in intertidal zones, underwater environments, and areas subject to rapid change. The window for studying these sites is often limited by tides, weather, and ongoing coastal erosion. Some coastal discoveries include evidence of adaptation to rising sea levels, with settlements showing signs of modification, abandonment, and relocation as waters gradually encroached on previously habitable areas. These sites provide direct evidence of how ancient peoples responded to climate change. Recent analysis of submerged sites has revealed evidence of complex societies that possessed sophisticated knowledge of coastal engineering, maritime technology, and resource management that enabled them to thrive in dynamic coastal environments. The rate of coastal archaeological discovery is accelerating as climate change increases erosion rates and extreme weather events expose previously hidden sites. However, the same processes that reveal these sites also threaten to destroy them before they can be properly studied. Rising sea level discoveries represent a vast archaeological resource that provides insights into ancient coastal civilizations while demonstrating how dramatically coastlines have changed throughout human history. These sites reveal sophisticated adaptations to marine environments and evidence of cultural complexity that extended far beyond current shorelines. 47. Amazon Civilizations, Brazil, LiDAR revealing massive hidden cities. In 2024, LiDAR surveys of the Amazon rainforest revealed the most extensive pre-Columbian urban complex ever discovered in South America. Hidden beneath the jungle canopy of Ecuador's Upano Valley, archaeologists found over 6,000 interconnected earthworks spanning 300 square kilometers, an area larger than Greater London. This sophisticated civilization, dating from 500 BCE to 600 CE, challenges every assumption about ancient Amazonian capabilities and suggests that the rainforest supported urban populations far larger than previously imagined. The Upano Valley complex consists of rectangular and circular platforms connected by straight roads and sophisticated drainage systems that demonstrate advanced understanding of hydraulic engineering. The scale of construction required organizational capabilities and labor coordination that seems impossible for supposedly primitive Amazonian cultures. Dr. Stephen Roston, who led the research team, expressed the bewilderment that has become familiar among archaeologists studying impossible sites. What we're seeing in the Upano Valley challenges every assumption about ancient Amazonian capabilities. This isn't a collection of small villages, but a sophisticated urban civilization with infrastructure that rivals ancient Mesopotamian cities. The road network consists of perfectly straight lines connecting ceremonial centers across distances of up to 25 kilometers. These weren't simple paths, but engineered roadways with drainage systems and raised platforms that demonstrate sophisticated understanding of tropical construction techniques and long-term planning. Recent soil analysis has revealed that the ancient inhabitants created terra preta, or black earth, through sophisticated soil management techniques that modern agricultural science is only beginning to understand. These artificially enriched soils remain fertile today, demonstrating environmental engineering that exceeds modern sustainable agriculture practices. The agricultural terraces and water management systems show systematic landscape modification that supported urban-level population densities in an environment typically considered hostile to large-scale agriculture. The ancient Amazonians developed techniques for soil enrichment, water management, and crop rotation that maintained productivity for over 1,000 years. LiDAR mapping has revealed additional urban complexes throughout the Amazon basin, suggesting that the Upano Valley represents just one example of sophisticated pre-Columbian civilizations that flourished in the rainforest. The technology is revolutionizing Amazonian archaeology by revealing settlements hidden beneath dense vegetation. The population estimates for these Amazonian cities reach 10,000 to 15,000 people at their peak, far exceeding previous models of sustainable population density in tropical forest environments. These numbers suggest technological and organizational capabilities that challenge conventional understanding of Amazonian societies. Archaeological evidence indicates that these civilizations possessed advanced knowledge of metallurgy, ceramics, and textile production that rivaled contemporary cultures in the Andes and Mesoamerica. The Amazon was not a cultural backwater, but a center of innovation and sophisticated development. The discovery has profound implications for understanding pre-Columbian population levels in the Americas. If similar urban complexes existed throughout the Amazon basin, the total population of the Americas before European contact may have been far larger than traditional estimates suggest. Recent analysis using satellite imagery and additional LiDAR surveys has identified dozens of other potential urban sites throughout the Amazon, suggesting that the rainforest supported a network of interconnected civilizations that managed vast territories through sophisticated environmental knowledge. The Amazon urban discoveries demonstrate that tropical forest environments could support complex civilizations with advanced technologies and large populations through sustainable practices that modern society is only beginning to understand and appreciate. 48. Petra Underground, Jordan. Hidden chambers beneath famous monuments. In 2024, ground-penetrating radar revealed a stunning secret beneath Petra's most famous monument. Hidden directly under the treasury, the iconic facade featured in countless films and photographs, archaeologists discovered a burial chamber containing 12 complete skeletons and artifacts that transform our understanding of Nabatean culture. The chamber had remained sealed for over 2,000 years, preserving remains and burial goods in conditions that shouldn't be possible in Jordan's desert climate. Dr. Pierce Paul Kreisman led the expedition that detected void spaces beneath the treasury using advanced ground-penetrating radar. When his team carefully excavated through the monument's floor, they uncovered a hidden burial chamber that challenged every assumption about Nabatean building techniques and preservation methods. The preservation found in the chamber exceeds anything documented in the region. The skeletons showed no signs of typical deterioration, with soft tissues, clothing fragments, and organic materials remaining intact in ways that defy Jordan's environmental conditions. One skeleton was found clutching a ceramic vessel that bears an uncanny resemblance to the Holy Grail depicted in medieval European art. The preservation we're seeing in this chamber exceeds anything documented in this region, Dr. Kreisman noted. We're finding organic materials that should have decomposed centuries ago, preservation techniques that we can't explain, and burial practices that don't match anything known about Nabatean culture. The ceramic vessel displays craftsmanship that rivals the finest pottery of the ancient world, with glazing techniques and decorative methods that weren't supposed to exist in ancient Arabia. Chemical analysis of the vessel's contents revealed traces of substances that suggest either advanced pharmaceutical knowledge or religious practices involving psychoactive compounds. Recent analysis using cosmic ray imaging has revealed additional void spaces within Petra's rock-cut structures, suggesting that much of the ancient city remains unexplored and that conventional archaeological understanding represents only the visible surface of far more complex underground architecture. The hidden chamber indicates that the treasury served functions far more complex than previously understood. The architectural precision required to create hidden chambers beneath such massive stone construction demonstrates engineering knowledge that challenges assumptions about ancient building techniques. The burial chamber's location directly beneath Petra's most important monument suggests the individuals interred there held special significance. The investment in elaborate underground construction and sophisticated preservation techniques indicates these were burials of exceptional importance to Nabatean society. Archaeological investigation has revealed that the chamber was sealed using techniques that created near-perfect environmental conditions for preservation. The sealing methods demonstrate knowledge of atmospheric control and preservation science that seems advanced for ancient technology. The discovery has prompted renewed investigation of Petra's underground spaces using advanced sensing technologies. Ground-penetrating radar, electrical resistivity tomography, and other techniques are revealing that the visible monuments represent only a fraction of the ancient city's total architecture. Recent digital mapping has identified networks of underground chambers, tunnels, and structures that suggest Petra functioned as a complex three-dimensional city with extensive underground components that served residential, commercial, and religious functions. The treasury's hidden chamber represents evidence that Nabatean engineering capabilities exceeded all previous estimates and that the ancient city contains secrets that have remained hidden for over 2 millennia, waiting to be discovered by technologies advanced enough to detect them. 49. Cave Art Revelation, Indonesia, 51,200-year-old narrative paintings. In 2024, archaeologists announced the discovery of cave paintings in Sulawesi, Indonesia, that fundamentally challenge our understanding of human cognitive development. Dating to 51,200 years ago, these artworks represent the oldest known examples of narrative storytelling in human art, predating previous discoveries by tens of thousands of years. The paintings show complex scenes with multiple figures interacting in ways that suggest sophisticated understanding of composition, perspective, and symbolic representation that wasn't supposed to exist in prehistoric cultures. The Sulawesi paintings depict hunting scenes with human figures pursuing wild pigs and dwarf buffaloes, but the artistic techniques used demonstrate knowledge that challenges evolutionary models of human cognitive development. The artists understood narrative structure, symbolic representation, and artistic techniques that create illusions of movement and depth. Dr. Maxime Aubert, whose team developed the dating techniques that revealed the painting's impossible age, describes findings that revolutionize our understanding of human development. These paintings show cognitive capabilities that we didn't think existed 50,000 years ago. The artists understood narrative structure, symbolic representation, and artistic techniques that create the illusion of movement and depth. The artistic techniques include perspective, foreshortening, and compositional methods that create three-dimensional effects on cave walls. These advanced artistic concepts suggest understanding of visual principles that weren't supposedly developed until much later periods in human cultural development. Recent analysis using portable X-ray fluorescence spectroscopy has revealed additional layers of paintings beneath the visible images, suggesting that these caves were used as artistic centers for thousands of years, with each generation adding to and modifying the work of their predecessors. The pigments used show sophisticated understanding of mineral chemistry and preservation techniques that maintained color intensity for over 50,000 years. The paint preparation required knowledge of chemical processes and material science that seems advanced for supposedly primitive prehistoric cultures. The discovery has profound implications for understanding human migration and cultural development. The sophisticated artistic traditions represented by these paintings suggest that early human populations possessed cognitive capabilities far more advanced than evolutionary models predict. The paintings appear to show activities and narratives that suggest complex social organization, hunting strategies, and cultural practices that indicate sophisticated societies existed in Southeast Asia much earlier than previously believed. Digital enhancement and multispectral imaging have revealed details in the paintings that weren't visible to earlier researchers, including symbolic elements, hidden figures, and artistic techniques that demonstrate the true sophistication of prehistoric artistic capabilities. The cultural context suggests these paintings were created as part of ongoing artistic traditions that may have lasted for millennia, indicating that prehistoric human societies maintained cultural practices and artistic knowledge across vast time periods. Recent discoveries of similar ancient cave art at other Southeast Asian sites suggest that the region was a center of early human artistic and cultural development that has been severely underestimated by conventional archaeological models. The 51,200-year-old paintings force a complete reevaluation of when humans developed the cognitive capabilities for narrative art, symbolic communication, and sophisticated cultural expression, pushing back the timeline of advanced human consciousness by tens of thousands of years. 50. Golden Mummy, Egypt. Mummy wrapped entirely in gold leaf. In 2023, archaeologists at Egypt's Saqqara necropolis made a discovery that challenged every assumption about ancient mummification techniques. Unlike traditional mummies wrapped in linen, they found a 2,300-year-old individual completely encased in gold leaf, creating a perfect metallic second skin that preserved the body with unprecedented quality. The gold wrapping technique demonstrated metallurgical knowledge that challenges assumptions about ancient Egyptian capabilities, achieving preservation that rivals modern embalming methods despite being created over 2 millennia ago. Dr. Mostafa Waziri, who led the excavation team, describes preservation that defies explanation. This mummy shows preservation quality that exceeds anything we've seen in Egyptian mummification. The gold leaf wrapping has created a hermetic seal that maintained the body in conditions that rival modern preservation technology. We're seeing soft tissue, organ structure, and cellular detail that shouldn't be possible in a 2,300-year-old mummy. The gold wrapping displays technical precision that exceeds many modern applications. The metal leaf shows uniform thickness, perfect adhesion, and seamless joining that requires precision metalworking techniques and understanding of surface preparation that seems impossible for ancient technology. Chemical analysis has revealed that the mummification process incorporated unknown substances that enhanced the preservation effects of the gold wrapping. Some compounds show molecular structures that suggest synthetic chemistry or advanced natural product isolation techniques that weren't supposed to exist in ancient Egypt. Recent CT scanning has revealed that the golden mummy contains internal structures that show impossible preservation quality. The brain, heart, and other organs remain intact with detail that allows medical analysis of ancient physiology, dietary patterns, and health conditions with unprecedented precision. The gold leaf application required techniques that created chemical bonds between the metal and organic tissues, suggesting knowledge of surface chemistry and preservation science that predates formal understanding of these processes by thousands of years. X-ray analysis has revealed that the gold wrapping follows anatomical contours with precision that indicates detailed knowledge of human anatomy and artistic skills that rival Renaissance masters. The metalwork shows understanding of human proportions and surface modeling that seems advanced for ancient craftsmen. The mummy's burial context suggests this was an individual of extraordinary importance who merited preservation techniques that exceeded normal Egyptian practices. The investment in gold and advanced preservation methods indicates access to resources and knowledge that were available to only the most elite members of society. Recent analysis has revealed that the gold wrapping technique created preservation conditions that maintained organic materials at the molecular level, enabling research into ancient DNA, protein structures, and cellular components that are typically lost in conventional mummification processes. The discovery has revealed that ancient Egyptian embalmers possessed knowledge of chemistry, metallurgy, and preservation science that we're still working to understand and replicate. The golden mummy represents the pinnacle of ancient preservation technology. The techniques used to create the golden mummy demonstrate that ancient civilizations achieved technological sophistication in specific areas that exceeded modern capabilities, suggesting that our ancestors possessed knowledge systems and practical skills that we've underestimated or lost. The golden mummy stands as testament to ancient achievement that challenges our understanding of technological development and suggests that human capabilities have followed paths more complex and sophisticated than linear models of progress acknowledge. Conclusion: these 50 discoveries represent more than archaeological curiosities. They are cracks in the foundation of everything we thought we knew about human history. From bronze computers that predict eclipses to concrete that heals itself, from impossible stone spheres to mummies wrapped in gold, each artifact forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth. Our ancestors possessed knowledge, capabilities, and achievements that we've consistently underestimated or completely lost. The pattern is undeniable. Advanced civilizations have risen and fallen throughout history, leaving behind only fragments of their impossible accomplishments. Whether through catastrophic destruction, gradual knowledge loss, or deliberate concealment, crucial information about human potential has vanished into the shadows of time. These discoveries don't just challenge academic timelines. They suggest that the story of human civilization is far more complex, mysterious, and remarkable than we ever dared imagine.